Hey, Crawlspacers, welcome to our ASM review show, and let's introduce who we've got on the panel. We've got Bruce. Welcome to the review show, sir.
How's it going, Brad?
We just wrapped up a new show. We had Peruvian Criminals. We had a Ditko Con. We had, what else do we have? We had the Spider-Verse trailer, a whole bunch of stuff.
We had a Spider-Man conference coming up in Bowling Green
Yep.
State University at the end of September.
Yeah.
And we had all kind of fun stuff going on
No
in that
doubt,
news show.
no
Yeah,
doubt.
now we're getting into the comics.
And that is not, if you're just watching the show for the first time, this is not a machine gun aimed at Bruce. This is an exercise equipment. Is it power?
One of my weightlifting bars over there. So yeah, I'm not
just the way it looks behind you.
Yeah, Brad doesn't have me doing this show at gunpoint,
Yes.
guys. I'm fine.
And we also have our buddy Ryan, the original Spider Boy, huh?
That's right. Actually, it's a little funny story. My uncle, when I was growing up, we had a neighbor and he was about my age, and he had we were playing outside and he had two masks. So he gave me one, which was a Spider-Man mask, and this is 82. And I said, I am Spider Boy.
Awesome.
So there you go. I'm the original Spider Boy.
Are you like Spider?
Oh.
Are you excited for the Dan Slott Spider Boy?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Good answer.
I'm a little slow.
All right. We also.
That's like no.
There you go. No, it's mine. I'm getting a little warning on mine. I think mine's wigging out a little bit. But anyway.
Oh yeah,
we've got Mike. What's going on, Mike? How are you?
Well, as my headline says, I do have a last name, unlike a certain character named Paul. And hopefully I am not going to be, it's not going to be one of those things where like it's, there's going to be a time difference involved with this podcast. Like maybe like so all of a sudden like, oh, you're going to be saying something and then you're going to find out like about like 1 hour, it doesn't equal one day later or something like that.
There's math involved. Yeah.
Oh yes. And somebody, and believe it or not, in fact, we probably get into it. One of our dedicated, followers and everything actually did some mathematical equations on this whole thing. Actually,
I think was that on the Discord?
Yeah, it was on the Discord. Yes.
Okay. Crawlspace Discord. Yeah.
Who actually calculated what the math would probably potentially be?
Who did that? Was that Muhammad or who did that?
Yes, it was.
It was Muhammad. Okay, got it. Got it.
So, but we'll get into that and more on our review show. I'm sure.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Guess who just texted me? It was JR. He goes, "Where's the link? I forgot to send JR a link. Hold on." Sorry. Here. JR. Sorry, JR. Where can I get the link? Sent. There you go. Okay, we also have Sarah. What's going on, Sarah? How are you?
I am fantastic. Excited to have today off from work actually.
Isn't it nice to be a teacher with this day off? I have it off too. Bruce, you off too for Good Friday?
Yes.
Yeah, isn't it nice? Nice.
Awesome.
Guess what I did on Good Friday? I went to the DMV. Woohoo!
I did too.
Oh, no way.
No, I did. I renewed my license plate sticker. Yeah.
That's hysterical. You had 3 teachers on the line. No. Yeah, 4 teachers on the line. Ryan's a teacher also, which is crazy. Someone that's taught me a few things over the years, JR. Number 1, how to respect your elders. Which I was
about to say in number two, who's the one who's getting senile? You didn't send me a link. Were you trying to tell me something? I mean, it's like I've always wondered.
You know why? Because you're old and you don't have Facebook. I send all these people in the same way a link through Facebook, and you're the only guy that I got to go through Gmail chat.
Because social media will be the death of our civilization.
Okay. But can't you just get one so I can send you a damn link?
You might as well ask me to watch Star Trek Picard or something. So,
oh my God,
I heard the third season's actually supposed to be good.
It's amazing.
It's been great.
The heck out of it. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, JR cult. JR, all or nothing. We riot anyway. Vinkman calls me the Forgetful Jones, Mr. Comics, JR, or we will riot. Shame on Brad for forgetting JR. Golly, J Fett, it sure would be nice to be on the show. All right. Someone who said from the last show, "Hey, I've not read this, but you guys rock." George.
I
What's going on,
recall
George?
I recall having said, I haven't read these, but I'll stick around. I don't recall saying, "Oh, hey, you guys rock."
Well, that is true. You didn't say
I think
that.
somebody-
You
Somebody's
said
putting-
something along those lines.
I said
You
I like you guys. and
Yeah,
I,
you said
I
you
liked
liked-
y'all.
Wow, George, that means a lot. You said you actually like us. Yes, I like that.
George.
But, okay, so
Wow.
three things real quick. All right, number one, Ryan, it's good to see you. It's been a long time.
Yes, it has
Yeah.
been. It's good to see you too.
In chat, Jonathan Lopez said Bruce is the Punisher in his free time. That's my new head canon. Like when we're not doing this, and when he's not doing spider conventions and Ditko conventions, he just cleans the streets, baby. And third,
That's my friend.
I had said that Brad had a senior moment when he forgot to tell JR, but then that reminded me it's JR who can't even do Facebook and has to go through Google chats. Oh, it's the Google.
We like to call
What's
it the G
happening?
chat.
Yeah.
Hey,
so
remember in the new Battlestar Galactica, the Galactica was the only ship to survive because it wasn't hooked into the central network that the Cylons invaded. So,
well, let me know when we're a science fiction show, and that'll be applicable. Also, I can't really talk because I don't even post on the front page anymore because I can't even figure out like the new format. Like I gave up on it years ago, and I was like, I'm done with. Yeah, that's why I don't ever post anything on the front page.
Oh, you mean to
because
write an article? I thought you meant to.
Yeah,
comment.
I'm just I pull it up and I look at the template and I'm like, no, life is not long enough for me to figure this out. I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Word,
So
word for us is pass George up. Okay.
I can't really talk smack about you and JR.
All right.
Although I
Josh-
noticed JR doesn't post anything on the front page either.
George is back on the review show. Does this mean he's agreed to continue his abusive relationship with Marvel? Says Josh.
No, I am not reading these issues. I'm not buying these issues. Marvel is still dead to me. But I miss these people, and they're about to tell me how god awful exactly Spider-Man has gotten, and I needed
George.
something to do while I eat my candy.
George, I
Ooh,
hope you have plenty of
Reese's.
alcohol because you're going to need it after tonight.
I don't have.
Probably are. I got a bottle waiting for me downstairs.
Good
God, you
Lord,
guys-
Ryan, that sounded dark. Ryan's like, God, I need a stiff belt.
I was like, I've got mine right here.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
Good
Sarah, you
grief.
were in my neck of the woods, believe it or not, when you were at C2E2. I was like, oh, Sarah's not that far from me. And then Donovan was there. I was like, man, too bad I didn't go this year. I could have met up with the crew.
I know. That's been awesome.
I had an extra ticket. I wish I would have known.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Thanks. Oh, wow.
All right. Let me pull up my notes. See who's got the first issue. It is JR. JR, take me through this issue, please.
golly, I feel like I just got done bloviating. So, well, let me take a deep breath and go for another one. All right, boys and
Okay.
Pace
girls.
yourself, Fettinger. You're not a young man.
All right, get my CPAP machine out here or whatever. Anyway,
Do
boys
you
and
have a
girls,
defibrillator?
Amazing Spider-Man number 21.
Yeah.
Now, not all of you may remember the events of Amazing Spider-Man 555 to 557, but we here at the Spider-Man Crawlspace do. And the reason we do is because after making excuses for the heretofore lackluster early Spider-Man stories of the Brand New Day era, Brad Douglas spewed copious amounts of bile and venom as he expressed his dislike of this story. So,
Yeah, I hate it. I gave it an F. Didn't I give it an F 15 years
I
ago?
believe
I think you
believe
did, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe you did. The F heard around Spider fandom.
You felt very strongly about this one. I remember.
And I don't even think you like the cover. So
No, because it was Chris Picciallo. I didn't.
No, you hated it to death. I actually fell out of my chair with how much you hated the issue.
Yeah.
and this was such a compelling premise that we nearly made it over 350 issues before revisiting it. But why let a shit idea go to waste when it can be resurrected to enable another shit storytelling abomination?
Yeah.
So, The issue starts out with Peter Parker heading out to work for his job at Oscorp because of the generosity and magnanimity of our former hero, Norman Osborn. He's not our former hero now because we have a new current hero, as you know. And Mary Jane is with her apparent husband that we didn't know for sure was her husband because it was never adequately addressed in an actual story. But anyway, this is Chi-Town's and our new hero, Paul. He and Mary Jane are trying to hustle the kids out for a family day at the park, but as kids are wont to do, they are just not being very cooperative. All right. Of course, to absolutely no one's surprise, their stories converge on what should be a pleasant day, but soon turns into a blustery, wintry day as a mysterious stranger with eyes as red as Mike, after attending
As Mike.
After attending a post-convention party. All right. And with a beard as long as George Berryman's. Even
Look at that.
there we go. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
No,
right.
not yet. No.
All right. Even Paul and the kids recognizing. So Mary Jane screams that he's back. He's back. And then we go back to a year ago. All right. All right. Now,
There you go.
1 year earlier.
Yeah.
Year earlier. Or was it like 3 hours late? Anyway, SpongeBob reference. All right. So anyway, to refresh you, the stupid ass plot in Amazing Spider-Man 555 to 557 was that some stupid ass professor named Rabin wanted to merge with or become the emissary of some stupid ass Mayan god, and Spider-Man foiled him. Largely because the professor needed to sacrifice a human female to enable this merger to take place. He was going to sacrifice Carly Cooper, but since she was an editorial mandate, she could not be. She had an invulnerable plot armor.
She was a preference. She was a preference,
Yeah.
not a mandate.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
reference.
Spider-Man fighting ancient Mayan gods. That sounds like a Spider-Man story to me, doesn't it to you? All right. Well, apparently this same stupid-ass professor has figured out how to get the ball rolling on this stupid-ass plot again, and he appears in glowing form to Peter and MJ at the end of that breathlessly exciting Beyond storyline. So
There you
All
go.
right.
There's the glowing right there.
yeah. So now here we are. So Peter and he exchange a few blows. Peter knocks him out of Mary Jane's apartment onto the street, which allows Peter to change to Spider-Man, and they continue the fight. But then the professor touches Spidey's man boobs.
He does right
George.
there.
Go to the next panel.
Okay.
Next page. Oh, there it is,
Whoa,
right
whoa,
there.
hey, whoa. You're up in his business.
Rabin
It's the defibrillator.
fondles Spider-Man's man boobs.
That's unnecessarily erotic.
What was it last time? There was never mind.
I'm uncomfortable with this.
So this marks him for vengeance. And so you kind of see images of little Mayan mask on Spider-Man's man boobs. All right. And then
hold
we
on.
also
Here, I can show it. Spider Mayan boobs. Here you go.
Yep.
And then we find out that Mary Jane has the similar looking spider or a Mayan mask on her wrist. Well, apparently they are, as a result of these little Mayan masks, Mary Jane's wrist and Spidey's man boobs are connected. And the man boobs shoot out waves of energy and take himself and Mary Jane into some sort of post-apocalyptic New York, because we can see the remains of the Flatiron Building, which, of course, boys and girls, as you all know, the Flatiron Building stood in for the Daily Bugle in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. And there's some weird-ass snake there or something or other. So there's this weird giant snake, to be continued. And then the next page is once again comprised of letters from sycophants praising past issues, so they can get their name in a Spider-Man comic.
Oh,
To be continued.
I think you shot one right across Bruce's bow for the next
Bruce,
issue.
Yes.
No. I made sure Bruce was not in this.
Okay, Bruce is
I
the next
checked.
one.
I checked to make sure that neither Bruce nor Chi-Town was on the page.
Okay. All right. Now here comes the wind-up.
D.
What?
There was a wine.
My question to JR would be, what's your grade?
D.
Okay, we got 1D on the board. Mike, give me a grade.
Should I be generous and give it a C- or be not so generous and give it a D+?
D+.
Yeah, I think so. I'll go with D+. Yeah.
We have a D. We have a D
Yeah.
plus. Sarah,
D+.
D plus. Ryan.
I was a generous one, C-.
Yeah.
Okay, Bruce.
I'll be generous also with a C-.
I'll give it a C. Also, I like it a little bit more than the D. George, from listening to the lovely storytelling of Mr. Fettinger.
I'm not going to give it. I'm not going to give it a letter grade. I didn't read it. I don't think it's fair.
Right.
But I mean, at the same
thoughts?
time, there was literally nothing in here that told me I should be reading this book. Everything about what I've just heard tells me I made the right decision to stop reading this title, and it also makes me think as well as like angling to try to get Sony to make a movie out of his story, the way I think everybody else at Marvel is, to one extent or another, hoping they get some sort of royalty.
From the chat, we have Mr. Comics gives it a high grade, an A. Great start. I couldn't wait for more. Adam
I'd
says,
like to hear more about that, why he gave it an A. If you can put that in the chat.
Mr. Comics, feel free. This is a D at best, says Adam. Remember when Marvel would actually publish negative letters in their columns sometimes? This is Josh. Josh also gave it a D. Tevia gave it an F. Ben gave it an F. D for Peter's double D's, says Jeff Castro.
Wow,
That had me cracking up.
good lord!
Tevia gives us a big F. D minus. A. F. Robster Roboters 100. This was a C minus, but only because I like MJ trying to go back to.
Yeah, that was cute.
No, that was actually that I felt
Yeah.
that page completely.
Yeah.
We got an F. We got N for not getting it.
Never gonna
all
get
right.
it. Never gonna get it. Never gonna get it.
All right. So, JR, your pros. Let's hear it.
Not a goddamn one.
Okay. Any pros out of Mike? You got your hand up. Go
I
ahead.
do actually have one, and I think it was actually in the beginning. And this goes into it's not so much because I don't think this is a JR Jr.'s this is John Romita Jr.'s best work, but I do like the parallelism he had with Peter and MJ in the beginning, showing like Peter being new to work while MJ is trying to get the kids together. And by the way, those are definitely not Paul's kids, because look at how they color this thing. I'm sorry, I know. I mean, who knows? But then again, I could be totally wrong here. I mean, but again, I don't know if they're supposed to be, but if maybe the colorists didn't get a hint, but who cares? But in any case, I do think that, and I think we do want to get the appreciation here about the fact that, yeah, we are finally getting answers. So I guess better late than never. So there is that.
Okay. Who else had a higher? Ryan, you were up there with a C, I think.
Yeah. Another thing I did is actually when there was the battle between, besides, as JR said, the spider boobs moment too. But believe it or not, when I was seeing JR do the JR doing the battle and everything, I was actually having flashbacks to his Thor run. Believe it or not, he was doing a lot. It was really making me think, especially when they got to the final scene with the the parallel Earth and the flat iron and everything. I'm like, holy cow, that's Dark God's story arc right there. And I said,
I mean, this is good looking JR. I think I love it.
It is.
And even though I know they were trying to be Mayan, but sadly there are situations where it becomes rune logos and then Mayan logos. And believe it or not, there was
Right.
actually some Aztec ones in there too.
Yeah.
And I could understand the Aztec and the Mayan because there's been history that there was possibly a connection with the two civilizations. But I'm like, why are we having Viking runes? I even said in my review too, is like I think
Is that what
JR
you're
was
talking
a little
about right
mixed.
there?
Yeah, right
This-
there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Ryan, it's magic. They ain't got to explain it.
I know,
Mhm.
George.
Mhm.
There's another thing. The prisoner there. Look at his head tattoo. Star Trek people might get that logo.
Mhm.
What is it?
Katana is awakening.
Oh.
Okay. Got
That's
it.
not from Star Trek. It's not from the original series.
The original Next Generation, Jar.
That's
There
not
are
Star-
4 lights, JR. 4.
Oh shit! Here we go.
It's not Star Trek.
It's about to get real. The
Um,
seal is broken.
Bruce, you got some pros?
Yeah, just I think Mike said it already, but my biggest pro of the issue is that they finally are moving into the story that we want to hear about. What did Peter do and how did it go? And didn't get very far into it, but I'll give him a pro for that.
I
We're
agree with
finding out-
that.
Yeah,
I
we're
agree with
finding out
that.
what he did.
Oh, sorry, Brad.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Sarah. Go.
Sorry, I was just saying I agree with that. I think like I love the art in this story, specifically the scene where he's fighting. How do you say his name? Rabin.
Rabin or Rabin? It's one of
I
those
think it's
two.
pronounced Rabin.
Rabin.
Rabin?
Okay.
Okay.
Like this. This was one of my favorite page. Like just that art is amazing. But let's see how it turns out if that
Mhm.
the story if that ends up being a pro or a con.
Mhm.
Sorry, Brad. Go ahead.
This double. Romita Jr. is not the problem. I don't think. I mean, the
No.
art is beautiful. I'm
Mhm.
loving it. Classic Spider-Man fight. He's fighting for Mary Jane. Mary Jane dropping an F-bomb evidently right here. Get out of my bleep apartment. Oh, Milo, thank you for the super chat, Milo. Thank you very much.
Oh, hey,
He's
Milo.
also a member. He's got that little icon next to him. So,
Hey,
thank you,
Brad.
Milo. Yeah,
Brad,
dude.
What the hell is the name of this dude, this villain from 13 years ago? We're supposed to give a damn about.
Rabin.
Oh,
Rabin.
Rabin?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's apparently pronounced Rabin.
Like he's an
Rabin.
Israeli premier.
No, he's supposed
No.
to be a professor of like well, he's going to go into that. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the thing. I completely forgot about this character. When
You,
he showed up,
George,
like, oh yeah, that's kind
you probably know his brother because you wear the sunglasses, Ray Ban.
Wow, Brad. Wow.
I don't even
But
have the
I'm-
energy. I don't even have
No.
the energy to face palm on
No.
that. If I tried to,
I'll do it for the both of us.
Thank you, Sarah.
if I tried to face palm to that right now, I'd probably wind up knocking my head off.
Ray Ban and Ray
You'd be
Ben.
knocked out for a little bit. You come back in like an hour.
Bruce and I are wearing our glasses. We don't want to knock them off.
Brad, the '80s called. They desperately want back. They want you back.
Yeah, baby, got to get back in time.
I would go back to the '80s right now if I could.
Oh, I love the 80s, man.
I actually was in
Josh
that
goes,
musical. It's a great
"Wah,
show."
wah, wah." Thank you. Thank you very much, Ray Ban.
No,
Any
no.
other pros that's not been mentioned, everybody? George, Mary says Brad's pun stick the landing. That means it's
Mary,
good, right?
No, Mary.
Mary,
no.
Mary, don't encourage him.
No.
Please don't
Adam
encourage him.
says that George is unfazed by Brad's dad jokes. Yes.
Yeah, after a
Um,
while, you develop a thick skin, not unlike a boar. It's got like a tough shoulder because it's fighting other boars.
Yeah. George is the Razorback of the crawl space. Yes, because of it.
I think that's appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
JR Khan's out of this issue. Let's hear it. This is your book.
Well, I mean, again, first of all, fighting Mayan gods is not a Spider-Man story. It's just utterly ridiculous. Nobody asked for this character to come back, and apparently, again, if this is going to be a momentous event in Spider-Man's history, if Mary Jane winds up dying or whatever, as people are speculating, why isn't it one of Spidey's regular villains behind this insidious plot instead of this stupid ass Mayan god thing? So it's not even a Spider-Man story. Yeah, I would say that's the biggest con. I mean, it's
I think you and I have similar tastes. We like grounded, street level crime Spider-Man stories,
Mhm.
not in outer space, not with gods. and this is very much that.
Yeah. No, I mean, not unless he's teaming up with the Fantastic Four or something like that, you know.
Or a
But,
Thor team up.
yeah, but Spider-Man by himself fighting Mayan gods and magic, that's not Spider-Man. Call Doctor Strange if you want to tell those stories.
I still think that like they're using, or that Wells brought this dude back because he's desperately hoping Sony picks it up and makes a movie out of it. I mean, that's
Or maybe he legit likes the character. I mean, he created the character, but I don't know. Maybe, I mean, if you created a Spider-Man villain and you are on the Amazing Spider-Man title, you'd probably want to bring back something you made.
I mean, after realizing nobody gave a damn about it the first time, maybe I'd be like, you know what? Maybe
I'm wondering if he here's the thing. I wonder if he kind of like banked on the fact that, well, hey, since this guy was an obscure villain from 15 years ago, maybe that will be the surprise. But the thing is, when he did bring him back, it's like everyone's like, oh, why should I give a crap about this guy?
Exactly.
And,
Why?
Yeah, I agreed. Yeah. I didn't like him then. I didn't like him now.
The only thing going for the character is that he was so bad in a god awful story, we still remember it like over a decade later.
Right.
True.
And here's the other thing. One of the biggest cons I have is like, is this supposed to be like how this is supposed to like fit in with like what happened at the end of Beyond? It doesn't really do that very well because all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, the glowing guy, it's Raven, or sort of. And then there's like other little things like that kind of stuck out to me, like the fact that, oh, Mary Jane, here they show her like how she's dressed in Beyond. And yet while Spider-Man is like beating this guy up and fighting for his life, she apparently has time to go change and get a shower, and suddenly she changes clothes in the middle of this whole thing. Like
she changes clothes?
Yeah. Remember, they show her like wearing her hair's all pinned up. She's wearing that baseball cap and all that baggy sweater stuff. And then the next time we see her after Ray-Ban or
Spider-Man changed clothes. Oh.
Yeah, but she decides, oh, I'm going to put on this totally new outfit in the meantime.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah. Oh,
maybe
and by the way,
Paul wanted her to be fresh.
Well, this is a flashback though. And by the way, I guess they're hinting that where the placement on her little face symbol on the thing, I guess, oh, is that where, because for those who read the Black Cat Mary Jane series and know that she has like slot machine powers, and that's where Watch will go.
And also notice the shape.
I did not.
It made me think, is Mary Jane a Decepticon? And we're just now
she's got
she's the Decepticon equivalent of RC. She's Megatron's daughter. Or something.
Yeah.
I got that. I got that reference. I got that.
Yeah, just the clumsy way of how he kind of incorporated this with the end and beyond to try to tie it with ends. It's like, yeah, it didn't quite fit. And also, how did Rebane get like the big sickles and decide to like kill all these guys and stuff like this? It's like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, and I like how he took all the springs of the bed, and not only does he do it to reinforce the inside of his jail cell, but somehow it got through the walls, and you have these heavily armored prison guards like, well, I can't take the stick and just knock it over. It was like,
right.
Like, I don't care how much Amazon Prime he's got. There's no way that would come through in any.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
If it fits, it ships, baby.
They literally said, yeah, they gave him a computer to use apparently in Rikers Island. Yeah, I guess these are the same guys that not to get they probably guarded Jeffrey Epstein or something. I don't know.
Some people trade cigarettes.
I was gonna say they don't do that. Like that's not a thing.
Yeah,
I feel like one guard says, you're not going to get on social media either, there, Raven, unless you open this door. I'm like, why are you letting him on that either?
Right.
Hey, I want to welcome Sarah. Sarah is not our Sarah, but Sarah Fazell.
Yeah,
that is you. Wait a minute.
That's her.
I'm like, Brad, that is her.
I was like, I should probably become a member. So
there you go. So Sarah, who is on the show and also in chat, which is confusing the host.
that was my evil plan.
Sarah, who is on the show but also in chat, says that we need Paul icons for YouTube members.
You have to give Brad a heads up, Sarah. These things will just.
So funny.
My last name is right.
I know, Sarah.
Let's all hug Tundra and make this go away. No.
So Sarah just became a member. You can get icons, and I think if I read the YouTube right, I can only do 5 icons until we get more members, and then you can get more emojis.
The icons are pretty cool.
Yeah. Here, pop one up. You can do it. Okay. I'm not going to take the Stegrun icon away because I know somebody would be upset with that one. But,
I don't know what the hell.
I just sent them all in the chat because
it doesn't show up on StreamYard. But if you're watching on YouTube,
I see them on YouTube now.
Yeah, you see them on YouTube. I can't pop them on the screen though. But
They also don't transfer if you do Facebook Live either, so it's YouTube kind of exclusive.
yeah, it's a YouTube exclusive.
They are cool though. It's cool to add that to the conversation.
Yeah, no
but
doubt.
we definitely need a Paul one for sure.
Yeah.
If not for me, but for JR.
Oh, I was thinking Chi-Town.
Yeah,
mean,
Chi-Town
I
was
know.
on.
No, JR, do you have your? Well,
I threw him
can't-
away. Yeah.
You can't do that, man.
You
I
threw
thought
it
The
Bobby-
fans
away.
expect something from you, JR.
Yeah, but I told that joke. I didn't want to tell it again.
You got to beat the dead
know?
horse over and over.
Do you
and over
do you
and
think
over.
I throw jokes away, JR? I do not. You beat it till you're.
Perhaps
being
he's
killed.
learned from you.
Well, if you
Brad.
had any
I run
jokes to begin
sports
with, maybe that.
Brad, no joke too old, Douglas.
Just like Spider News, I'll recycle it. I'm going
Is it-
green, baby.
Isn't Javi isn't our very own Javi Trujillo the big Paul fan? He's always memeing about Paul and the
Mhm.
Discord.
Oh,
in our
yeah.
Crawlspace
yeah.
Discord.
and then some.
We also, we brought up Chi-Town's name a few times. I highly recommend, and I'll pull it up right here.
He wrote the article about. Well, he's been writing articles about ASM, but I know we were talking about earlier about the math that had to do with the timing of
Yes.
MJ.
Oh,
where
it's in
she
here.
was.
Yeah, he did the
That's
math.
in the article too.
Yeah, it's
I think he said Mark did it.
Mohammed did this on our Discord.
yeah. There
So,
it is.
So 1 week, if Mary Jane was missing for 6 months or 180 days, approximately that would mean with 1 year equals 52 weeks. So Mary Jane's been missing for 3.46 years, for 3 years and 6 months is what we did the calculation. Also, Chi-Town is resigned from reviewing this book because he's so frustrated with it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
Mark was didn't
oh,
believe.
I think Brad's lagged again.
Yeah, he's
But
like
if you want to read, yep. Okay, who's got the next one? Let me look at my notes. We've got Bruce on ASM 22, and why did I give it to Bruce? Because Bruce is in the letters pages
he
of
is.
this issue. Yeah,
Yay,
so let's take a
Bruce.
look at this one. Good job, Bruce. What number
Thank
is
you,
this
Thank you.
for you?
This is my third letter, and I also had one mention it where another fan wrote
Oh,
in and
that's right.
talked about one of my letters. So, and this is it all started in issue 12, so this is 13 issues, and so that leads me to speculate that not many people were sending in letters.
Yeah. I've been
So-
this close to thinking too. It'll be my first
Yes.
letter print in about 16 years.
Yeah, or
I should
either,
probably write one in, but I
either
haven't-
that, or once you're in, you're in. It's like a membership, and they just want to keep you as a character. Maybe because some of their other characters aren't so interesting, so maybe the letter writers are. I don't know, but JR, my letters are not always positive, and in this issue, if you read my letter, I do bring up some of the strange things that were happening in the previous storyline, so I'm not letting them off the hook as easily. Sometimes I ask them some questions, but for some reason they're printing my letters, so we'll keep it going. But
Oh,
But you
before-
promised to
before
be
you
with him
start
for the
re-
long haul. I mean,
I'm in it for the long haul because I've got the streak going, guys. I bought Amazing Spider-Man 99 as a kid, and I've never
Yeah.
missed one that's been published since then. So I got to keep that streak going, regardless. But so
I get
that's
that.
just my own personal streak, with buying the comics. But just the collector part of me that will keep it going. And
There
real
with
quick,
you, Bruce.
before we get to Bruce reviewing it, Mr. Comics says, "Hey JR, bring back Paul, or we go to Cult Brad."
That sounds like a threat to me, Mr.
That's a
Comics.
big
That
threat.
sounds like a threat.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, you lost one. All right, let's
We
see.
have Cult Brad T-shirts, right?
There you go.
thank
Yeah.
you, Adam. It's always
You know,
nice
the
to
only-
see my name.
The only time I had a letter published was in the Thor comic. All of the letters I've ever written to Spider-Man were, contained way too many curse words and expletives. Slipping in passive aggressive things like "it'll all be corrected when better people are on the book," things like that. So for whatever
I've
reason,
only had Mice and Spider Girl and 2 issues of Invincible as my only letters I've ever had published.
I
George,
remember-
I don't think that's passive aggressive. That's just aggressive. That's fine though.
I remember one time in one of the brand new verse stories, or no, I bought an issue of Amazing Spider-Man Family, and they had slipped some brand new day shit into it. And I remember, Brad, I removed the pages from the comic and sent them back into Marvel with a letter saying, oops, printing error. Somehow these brand new verse pages got into the Amazing Spider-Man family. I just wanted to let you guys know.
George, you're my hero. You are
And
my
then,
hero.
And
I
then
think
Whacker,
Steve Whacker remembers that. I think he's mentioned that before.
he mentioned that on the message boards and accused me of like tearing papers up. And I was like, no, Jack, I removed them carefully. I undid the staples, took them out, and mailed them back into you. I didn't tear
The value
them up.
increased on the book on the open
Yeah,
market.
yeah, the value increased on the book. I was able to sell it for twice of what it was worth, which wasn't much to begin with.
Bruce, take me
A whole
through this
dollar.
issue, please.
You got it, man. Well, we got that
All right.
cool J.R. Jr. and Scott Hanna cover. And since I'm being published in so many comics, I have to buy extra issues for my friends and relatives. And I've gotten Scott Hanna to sign. I've got Scott Hanna to sign a few. So my paycheck is probably direct deposited to Marvel these days. Unfortunately, but it's a good problem to have. But yeah, that was a cool cover. And at the beginning, we see that weather event happening with a superpowered human being in it. There's a tornado-looking thing, and you see Norman watching it on the news there, and he says Peter was right. We never heard the conversation with Peter, of course. He found his way back, this being, and he tells his assistant, ready the suit. And he goes out to see the suit, and he finds Ms. Khan checking it out in an authorized area. So he's kind of upset that she's there checking out the suit. She's surprised to be caught. So that could be something coming up in the future. And then all of a sudden, flashback to 1 year ago. We jump back in time. And Peter and MJ are on the run for days. It says scrounging for food.
What is that thing? That looks like
That
Max
is
Headroom.
actually known as a Xoloitzcuintli, which is a Mayan hairless dog. And in the ancient ruins, that's what they had that guard the tombs.
I had that in high school. I used some acne cream, and that got rid of those things. What'd you call it?
It's
Acme?
called
What?
a Xoloitzcuintli.
Squinley. Yep.
Yeah,
God,
or
nice.
Zolo.
No, that's you missed half
Oxy-10
of it,
takes care of that,
Brad.
right, Brad? Oxy-10 was what you used back in the old
Oxy-10,
days.
baby. Yeah, man.
I use Oxy-10.
So anyway, they're sent back to this place by Dr. Rabin, the emissary, and they're trying to escape. I called it just a mechanical dinosaur creature. I don't know what did it call it,
What is
but
that?
Xoloitzcuintli.
Yes.
It literally looks like a cereal box dinosaur.
On top of it.
Like
say
this
that
is
three
something.
times fast, right? But so while they're running and Spider-Man's fighting the creature, a hooded figure shows up and he blasts the creature with some kind of futuristic gun, Kakwark. And basically he destroys it with the Kakwark gun. And he explains, hey, that obviously the reason it works is it disrupted the symbology of that creature. And the mystery man, it's Paul, guys. It's Paul. The
Still don't know his
mystery-
last name.
I
the mystery
That's okay.
savior, Paul.
Paul Watson.
He's so famous.
Maybe he doesn't have a last name. Maybe that's like Prince didn't have a last name.
Right. He's so
Maybe
famous.
Paul will eventually just become a symbol.
It's like
Paul.
Madonna, Prince,
Prince.
Pink, all
Maybe
those
that
famous
symbol's a
people.
middle finger. Who knows?
Yeah.
Error.
To all the fans.
Yeah.
So
Oh, who's the guy in Hawaii that did the ukulele? What or the got married
Oh.
night show? Who's that?
Oh,
Tiny Tim.
Oh, he had a last name. Okay. never
He
mind.
wasn't Hawaiian.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
He just played the
Don
ukulele.
Ho. Don Ho.
yeah, that other guy from
Yeah.
Hawaii, Don Ho. Yeah, Don Ho.
Never
Brad,
mind, never
not
mind.
everyone who plays a ukulele is Hawaiian.
Did I just confuse Don Ho with Tiny Tim? Is that what I
Yes.
did?
Yeah,
We
you
did.
probably
did.
did.
Yeah,
And-
which is
And Don Ho never played
Insane.
a ukulele. Brad, not
That's
Brad.
my brain.
In any
no,
case,
Brad. I have a ukulele and I'm not Hawaiian, so
Okay.
there's that.
Yeah. Okay.
Do we need puppets? Do I need to get the puppets out?
Yes, get the puppets. Get the puppets. Yes.
No, they're
Okay.
across-
Go ahead, Bruce.
they're
Go ahead.
across their apartment.
Okay, so Paul takes him to his creepy home, which is filled with all kinds of symbols all over the place, and he explains that the symbols are the tech on this world. They're not just symbols; they are the tech. It's themselves. And he reveals that he worked with Dr. Rabin in the past, telling them that Rabin's math began to resemble the hieroglyphics of ancient cultures, and that these ancient people were smart enough, though, to forbid using the power of the symbols, but he and Rabin weren't that smart. So they were kind of getting into trouble with dabbling in the power of the symbols. And he reveals also that only Rabin realized that he was actually communing with higher beings. So Paul didn't realize that at the time. And then Peter sees a spider technology and he opened up there, sitting on the table with circuits exposed. And Paul says it was supposed to be used to travel along the quantum strings, but he couldn't get it to work. So Peter asked to try to fix it. Why not? He's got time on his hands. Then we do a scene cut, guys, and like you said, this might be perfectly designed for a movie later on. Who knows? But we cut to Bean's encounter with an angry. How do you pronounce this? Way up? Is that
Way
how
up.
Way up.
Way up.
Way up.
Way up.
He's ready.
Way up.
He's ready. He's on his way up, guys, and he's ready to kill Rabin for his past failures. That happened way back, 300 some issues ago, like JR said. So he tells Rabin tells, hold on, guy, hold on. I brought you a sacrifice, and I brought you the sunlight, and that makes Way Up just scream out. I don't know if it's a mad scream. It sounds like a happy scream. So he's referring to Spider-Man, so you just cry. I don't know if that's happy or sad, but
It reminds me of Shatner in Star Trek 2. Cron!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then go back to Paul's house, scene cut again, and Peter's fixing the spider dimensional travel device, and Paul explains more to MJ and to Peter about how he was a guinea pig and forced to live in this dimension, and he mentions the fact Spidey had stopped that original plans of Way Up, and that Paul revealed that their way to finish the ceremony for Rabin and Way Up to finish it, that Spider killed so that Way Up can come to our world and destroy our world. Once Spider-Man has been killed, that will complete the process. So eventually Peter fixes the spider device, and immediately Way Up comes crashing through Paul's building, his house destroyed, and the three of them try to run off, but it's no use. Some of this artwork is kind of confusing and hard to tell what's happening, but it's a big battle. Spidey's getting hit from all the different kind of angles, and all of a sudden Paul saves the day once again, guys. He's the hero a couple of times in this issue. He uses, of course, an octopus gun, the famous octopus gun, and the tentacles come out and they grab Spider-Man. He explains that it changed Spidey's symbology and it allowed him to be pulled away from Wyatt's grasp. And so he's safe for a couple of seconds. Paul insists that Peter use that spider device to get him out of there so that he won't be sacrificed, so that Way Up can't take over. But Peter refuses that and said, hey, no, we're not sending me away. We're sending MJ. She needs to get out of here. So they're arguing about it. Unfortunately, Spidey doesn't punch Paul in the face, but eventually Way Up catches up to them, and he's destroying Peter all over the place again, about ready to kill him. And MJ runs over and puts the device on Peter and activates it. And Spidey starts going through the portal. And as you can see, while he's in the portal, she actually cut it in half. She cut the gun in half with the portal. The other half is still there, and Paul's afraid that it's going to regenerate or something, so he runs over and he shoves the other half of Way Up through the portal. Ironically, now the portal opened up probably only a couple hours away from me, maybe 2-3 hours, right outside of York, Pennsylvania. Everybody, it opens up right outside of York, Pennsylvania, and all of a sudden, Peter's hurtling to the ground. Both halves of Way Up seem to be hurtling to the ground. One of his halves hits the ground, and there's like a gigantic, enormous explosion. Peter's trying to shoot webs to save himself, and that's the end of the issue. There's just a speck there, and the issue ends with dramatic cliffhanger.
Bruce, is York the home of the peppermint patty?
It is York Peppermint Patty, and also York Barbell. You see these weightlifting equipment behind me. York Barbell was the big weightlifting mecca way back in the 60s and 70s. York Barbell.
We have, don't forget, your letter right here.
Oh yeah, you can see that I don't let them off the hook. I say the good, the strange, and I mentioned that what will become of Ben Reilly. He's bounced from hero to villain and back more times than some professional wrestlers, George. He's bouncing back from hero to villain, and I'm a wrestling fan also, but that's the only thing I could equate it to, because I can't really invest myself in Ben Reilly because they bounced him around so many times. He's a good guy, he's a bad guy, he's a good guy, he's a bad guy. He's something strange, but
at the end of the day, Bruce, he's just a poor copy.
Yeah.
He's a flawed Xerox.
They could have done it well, when they first brought him back, in the storyline when they brought the Goblin back, if they kept that going, or maybe left him dead at the end of that issue. But yeah, it just bounced around so much. But
Bruce, what's your grade on this one?
This one, I'll give it a little bit more than the last issue. I'll give it a B. It's
See?
at least
Okay.
progressing the story along. The action was kind of cool to see them on the run and to see and you're finding out a little bit more about Paul. And it's kind of weird because now, he's like a hero in this issue. So, as much as I disliked him before, I'm kind of like interested just to see what happens with him. But I can't say I like him so far, but in some ways he's helping out, but who knows? Maybe they'll twist it to where he sent Peter off because he wants, MJ to himself. Who knows what's going to happen with this thing?
Ryan, we have a B on the board. Is that what you said, Bruce?
Yeah, I got a B.
Okay, Brian,
C minus.
C minus, JR.
D.
D. That was your grade last issue. You weren't personally offended. I know. Sarah.
C.
C. Mike.
C minus or bounce. Yeah.
C minus.
So
I'll give it a C. I liked it better than the previous one. I think I gave the last one a C minus. George, any thoughts after hearing the plot?
Still nothing makes me want to read this book.
Okay. We got an A minus out of Mr. Comics. We got a D plus out of Josh. Tevia says, I give this a big F because it's so bad and a complete train wreck. Never thought I would see a worse modern run on ASM than Howard Mackey, says Adam.
Wow.
We have MJWP, D minus F this, says Adam. Imagine if Paul is the true villain.
You know what I kept thinking
Yeah.
for a little while Bruce was taking us through this? I started to wonder with all the totem crap,
Yeah.
if he's like some kind of like alternate version of Ezekiel.
Well, here's the thing. The thing is, you
Oh, we
can
can't
kind
go
of
there.
tell. You can kind of tell that Zeb Wells was a big fan of J. Michael Straczynski because it's not just totemism; it's symbolism. Now,
Yeah,
that's basically the big old thing.
That's
Yeah,
the thing.
that-
Though. I mean, like people who read JMS's run don't typically go back and look at the totem stuff as the high.
No. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
We have Ben with an F plus for another F. What did Peter do? Nothing. We have solid C, not liking it though, says Roboters. And symbolism talk was confusing, and this makes Paul suspicious to me, says Mr.
I'm actually
think
with
that's kind of
Mr.
the
Comics
point,
on that one. I
actually.
would have I have
Yeah.
something to share later.
Chi-Town's in the house. Why couldn't Paul be cut in half? That would be funny. That would be hilarious.
Good job, Chi-Town.
Job.
All right. So, Bruce, give me some pros. You're the highest one with a B.
Okay, well, one of my major pros was that we finally get to see Peter doing some like science work where he's digging in and using some of his mental and science capabilities on that device to send them back to the other back to his real world, of course. But I think the other positive is that yes, we're hearing a little bit of Paul's backstory, and like I said, and other people were speculating that maybe he's throwing us off track with that. Maybe he is more deeply involved as the villain type person in this issue. But at least it's an advancement, and we have to remember too that they have an advantage in Amazing Spider-Man. They're coming out twice a month, so they can kind of drag the story a little bit more slowly because we're getting at least 2 episodes a month. So, there wasn't much advancement in either of these 2 issues that we reviewed tonight, but they have an advantage because they get to be published every other week.
Other pros not mentioned. Anybody?
I will say this.
Yeah.
It was, in terms of what we would find out about Paul, it was definitely unexpected because I don't think anybody pegged him as being a cross between Kyle Reese from the Terminator and Robert Landon from the Da Vinci Code.
Maybe
That's
MJ.
true.
Somehow,
Maybe
because-
MJ pegs him. Who knows?
I don't know. Yeah, but well, we know that sometimes he
Boom,
has some
boom.
charm, I guess. But yeah, it just was. But yeah, we do. I mean, I did appreciate it. We actually get something. I mean, whether it's something you actually like, that's quite another thing. But yeah, it is. I do that. I mean, I guess he is, but at the same time, yeah, it's like it's one of those things where like of all the things you could, but yeah, but in terms of like about Paul and everything, there's something else that we'll get to the cons. It's also kind of related to that, so I'll save it when we get there.
We have a
so.
super chat from Josh. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. He says all this build up to what huge threat, and Wyeb or Ray-Ban or whatever his name is.
Way up.
Way up. It gets way up. Okay. Who's the other guy? You got way up and
Rabin.
Ray-Ban.
Rabin.
Rabin. Okay.
Rabin,
And he gets
Rabin.
beaten in a single issue
Rabin.
by Mary Jane. Why should we be interested in this character again? Question mark.
I love Joshua's avatar there. YouTube.
Oh yeah,
That is. I remember when that issue
His-
came out too.
Oh, yeah.
Why should we care about it? Got beat by Mary Jane in one panel.
We don't.
Okay.
Sarah's face says it all. I mean,
Yeah, no
maybe,
doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
maybe he's not beaten. With all this time travel and multi universes, you can't even say anyone's beaten these days.
Oh, he'll come back. You got to pad the trade.
Gotta pad the
Gotta
trade.
pad the trade.
So pros, we heard from Mike, we heard from Bruce. JR, you got anything hidden in the box there in the basement of a pro?
Nope.
No pros out of this. Sarah, what'd you like besides Ramita art? I bet.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my pro.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to find out a little bit more about what's going on, but like I hate that we've picked this random obscure character from the past and are trying to make it relevant now. It's just again, like I believe Mike said, why?
Well, I remember about 30 years ago, maybe about 28 or so, that we had a random kind of obscure character of the Jackal suddenly seeming to be important, and they had to save that by bringing back Norman Osborn from the dead. So you never know what they're going to do. You just never know
So
what
maybe
they're going to do.
so what you're saying is maybe something good will come of this.
Maybe something good, but I don't know if I don't know. I kind of like
Nothing good-
Norman. That
Nothing
issue,
good came of the Jackal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
JR, you don't even have a pro out of your man right here?
Well, other than he chases his diversity hire out of the
JR. Yeah, what's Kamala Khan doing in Norman's area? What's she doing?
It's a
She had
tie-in.
a streaming series.
Oh, that's what
She's
she's doing in
curious.
there.
Wait. You can't say that you would not be curious about that costume and all the things that's capable of doing.
Oh no, that's completely Kamala. That's
Oh no,
completely-
I would
that
see
is
it and
legit.
think,
That is
I would
legit.
just see it and think they're doing it for the variant cover.
No, but I think
You're
it is legit for her to be like kind of snooping around. and
Curious,
everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Any other pros not mentioned?
I had one thing, and
Yeah.
even though I'll go into the cons, I know Michael thing, but when Paul is explaining how they got interested into the different things and the symbols and how the math is, I've completely seen that. I've actually seen people get pulled into something like, it didn't seem right, but it was really interesting as it come. Before we knew it, we were in over our heads. That actually was something I completely bought, that somebody like Paul or somebody, and then he said there were other students too, which we know was too from that 15 years ago story, but how he basically pulled all one where they're like, oh, this does seem interesting, until it was like, aha, I've cracked the code and now I don't need you anymore except for my Hawaiian god to take you.
That was good, Ryan. Ryan's been doing. Ryan's been taking night classes at the villain school.
I have.
Bruce, your cons gotta be this dude. That's gotta be a con. What is this? That's a con.
That's a
My
robotic-
Zillow Watkins Quinty.
This zit dinosaur or whatever he is. I don't know.
Yeah, the con is like you, Brad. I remember back to the Oxy 5 and Oxy 10 days on that one.
It's been so many years since we had zits. What are we up to? Oxy 50? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do they
if
even
it-
make
Yeah,
Oxy?
Oxy 75
I don't know if
right
Oxy's
now.
even out there before, but yeah, I went. The bottle. Remember the bottles were so small and so expensive. You go through those things in a week.
I know. Yep. So Bruce, what's some cons for you? What'd you not like?
Well, there's not too much to dislike because there's not much going on. It just I would like it to go faster, and other than that, let's get through it. Let's find out the mystery already. We've been waiting for about a year and a half now, so I think it's about time to tie it all up.
You think the payoff of waiting this long will be worth it?
Probably not, but
Yeah.
I'd like to stay I'd like to stay optimistic, but and maybe they're going to pull off something that we'll say, wow, man, they really did something that we weren't expecting, or that it turned out good at the end. But so I'll stay optimistic.
Here's
I
the
think,
thing.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Here's the thing about this mystery box thing. Okay. From what I understand, Zeb Wells even mentioned that he actually said that, like, when he came up with this idea, like, what did Peter do? and if correct, I'm sure some other people on the panel can correct me if I'm wrong. He mentioned that the way he approached this is that he came up with the resolution first and then worked his way backwards. Well, it kind of shows because not only I don't think that we kind of picked. I would be shocked if he thought if this was the version of Paul he had in his head when we first introduced him, because there is no way Paul was this cool. There is no way that Paul knew that Peter was Spider-Man when we first saw him. There is no way that he was some kind of like, oh, I can make stuff with the power of symbolism. Like I'm the living meme or something, but
There you go.
I'm the living
Power of
meme.
Venmo.
I'm the living meme.
Oh my god! By the power of Venmo. Oh my god!
By the power
Yes.
of PayPal.
I want
literally,
that. I
yeah,
want the
where did he
living
get the
meme
money?
to be a villain now.
yeah, he's been
I
living
am
in
the
this
living
dimension for
meme.
how many years, and suddenly he's got all this money in Venmo accounts. I guess he's been I guess he's using MJ's funds or something. But yeah, and everything about this kind of felt like. It's like, oh yeah, you're kind of making this guy trying to make him like, see how cool he is, folks. I'm like, yeah, you weren't this cool when you first came up with the Wells, I'm sure. But then, and also, I mean, while I do appreciate Ryan's thought about the about like all these guys, the obsession of this math thing. This whole section was so convoluted about the whole thing, like, oh, we can make stuff with symbols, and like we still have no idea how it works, but I guess it's comics. So yeah, it kind of takes people out of it, I think, a little bit with all this.
Look at his way to get into his door.
I know, yeah, because yeah,
Like
again,
opening a locker in
Oh,
high
by the
school.
way, the symbol of Shiva is right there on the top, left by the click on
Right.
the top.
yeah,
Over
and again,
here.
he's trying to he's almost trying
Yep.
to one up Straczynski with this thing. It's not totems, it's symbols. So that's the thing. So
That
Run,
looks like Doctor
bitches! It's the
Strange's
living
amulet.
meme.
it's the living meme.
Here's the thing, says Chi-Town about the mystery box thing. It sucks.
It sucks. Yeah.
All right. We've cons. We had Mike with a con, I think. Anybody else with JR? Your
Yeah.
turn. Cons.
There's
Depends
nothing
JR
remotely
side.
interesting about this story. I don't care. It's like if it's one of those things where if like I didn't read the next issue, if I were to die before the next issue would come out, I wouldn't care.
But
It's
we
like,
love you, JR. We want you to live.
well, I don't know if I have to read more of this. I may not want to anymore.
Do we though?
but-
Do we?
Yeah, you're a bad man, Berryman. I tell you.
I love you. I've missed you so much, JR.
Oh my god. Spider-Man versus the living meme one shot. Here we go.
I would love for Spider-Man to kick the living meme in his Teotitlans.
And rip the octopus gun apart.
I love how
Oh.
that's now his official name now. It's super villain name.
Paul the living meme. Watson.
By the power of Venmo, coming soon, Cash App.
Marvel team up. Okay, Sarah, what'd you not like? What's your cons?
Here we go.
Here we
Hold on,
go.
Okay, Sarah. We're
I like how Sarah has a wind-up side like JR now.
Yes.
Sarah Cons.
There we go.
I'm just not. It's a con that I've had for the last several books, and I just can't get speed this up. Let's figure out what's happened. I'm tired of waiting. I understand you're trying to beat this for as many books as you possibly can,
Yep.
but I'm over it. And if you keep doing this, I am going to lose interest. And I hate to say that about my favorite character in the whole world.
Yes.
I hate that this is where we were at.
Mhm.
And I think that sums up my con.
Oh, don't forget this guy. You didn't like Clorb. The cereal box dinosaur.
I think they're making a Marvel Legend of that now.
Oh, of course, it's a build-a-figure for the Clorb.
It's a building
Yeah.
figure.
That's a first
Sarah-
appearance issue, guys. So you better stock up.
Oh yeah, go
Yeah.
Sarah, rip and tear. Says
Rip
Big
and tear.
Facts at Sarah. Here you go.
Her new
Josh says, in other words, the pacing sucks. Yep.
email.
Mhm.
Oh yes.
Any other thoughts on this issue before we move to the other one?
My
Go ahead,
biggest thing on this is, especially at the end, And also, Mike, you can stop me if you want to. But one of the biggest things in here, too, is how much Paul contradicts himself completely in this. And
Oh, yes.
With the, well, we thought, well, I don't believe in gods. Well, gods don't die easy, man. Oh, you know why Peter's figuring out this? Wait, there's more of him. Oh, if he dies, things bad. And, if more of him die, that could lead to your universe being destroyed. Uh-oh, he got cut in half. Gods don't die either. I thought you didn't believe in God. So let me shove him through the portal, which you just told him, where we said if he dies, we can't, because we know Wave's about to explode. Wait, Paul, how do you know he's going to explode? And then all of a sudden we say, oh, we always wondered since issue 1, what did Peter do? No, it's looked more like, what did Paul do?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Because we find the answer in this issue that Peter did absolutely nothing. And so, and
as I said in my review too, I don't condone the destruction of wilderness and animals and stuff. But when you land in the threat zone area, and Bruce, you can stop me. I don't know what's out there in that part of York, Pennsylvania. I've been in Pennsylvania about 23 years, and we'll talk about this next issue. Nothing got really wiped out. Yeah, maybe some birds and some sparrows and a couple of shrikes, but it wasn't like he destroyed an entire town or city. So
I just thought of something too. I think they're leading up to kind of a revival, because it's going to be Peter, Paul, and Mary Jane.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God!
With Puff the Zillow Dragon. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That was a Brad level joke.
Oh no, but that's the
he sent it to me through Facebook. I had to read it.
It's literally robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's the whole thing with this.
Yeah, robbing.
Yeah.
I've heard that Peter, Paul, and Mary joke before. All right, let's see. Who's got this last one? That Ryan does, doesn't he?
Not it.
You?
Oh,
No,
I think Sarah does.
Yeah.
And I've been waiting for this one.
Okay.
All right.
Let me get the.
Sarah's got to wind up.
I got to wind up. Yeah, I got to get ready.
She needs 2 size.
Go.
Let me go stretch real quick.
I'm about to say, do you need to do some exercises? Do you need to get a
stretch?
You need to get, yeah.
Hold on. Here we go. All right.
There we go.
All right.
You need your equipment.
There we go.
first.
Get her wrestling modes on.
Yeah, I'll get her.
Brad, why are you zooming into his butt?
I was.
It's
If I had a nickel for every time.
Seriously, Bruce, if we had a nickel for every time, for real.
Same thing with
All right.
how many times Reed Richards has turned his head backwards.
I was actually trying to fill the frame, but look, it's just spider booty.
Reed Richards as an owl.
We went from booby to booty.
The
reason he's zooming in on
Sarah.
the reason he's zooming in on Spider-Man's butt is because there's not enough of the Invisible Woman for Brad to zoom in on her butt.
True.
That's true.
I see. Yeah. But you got the thing's butt too. Why are you discriminating, Brad?
It's clobbering time, booty.
Okay.
That's a hard rock. No,
That's my fault. That's my bad.
Anyway.
That's my bad.
I'm not going to say it.
Amazing Spider-Man number 23, written by Zeb Wells, pencils by John Romita Jr., inks by Scott Hanna, and colorist Marcio Menyes. So the book starts with Peter being transported back to Earth 616, of course, where he's from. And we see him burying his suit and running away from the police sirens because he needs to get back to save Mary Jane from Rabin. He does not have any time for questioning. Peter ends up being...
I just got the picture. So here he is. He buried his suit somewhere because the cops are coming.
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, and he's running around naked in his boxers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there he buried his suit right down there. Did he take the little icon with him? The little.
Yeah, he takes
He
the.
must-
Yeah,
he
he
did.
takes
He takes the
Okay.
transmitter.
Yeah. However, he still leaves evidence behind, which will come back to bite him later. So Peter ends up being in Pennsylvania. He steals some clothes and is able to take the Greyhound back to New York and realizes that something is not right about the day or the time. It seems as if Peter hasn't missed any time since he and MJ have been gone. Later, Peter storms in to ask Aunt May what day it is, and she confirms his fears that it is Thursday, and it hasn't been long, I believe hours, since he's been gone. Although it should have been a week. Then we see Norman Osborn, and Peter yells at him to stay away from him and his family. Norman just wants to check to see if Peter's okay, but Peter shoves him out of the apartment and holds him threateningly against the wall. Peter stops immediately as Aunt May says, "Peter, this is not like you." Eventually, after that, Peter leaves to his apartment to gather some things together. We don't know what things, but he does change into Spider-Man. He immediately heads to see the Fantastic Four as he needs a lab to use and is met with questions that he doesn't have time for. He explains what he is doing briefly, but Spider-Man's suit was found at the wreckage, and the Fantastic Four need to make sure that it's really their Spider-Man, and he has those things to answer for. Spider-Man leaves and is chased by helicopters, which he believes are the feds, and he ponders how long it'll take him to explain himself. A week, a day. Regardless, it's too much time that he doesn't have. He needs to go back to save Mary Jane. He changes back to Peter in order to avoid being followed and hunted, and he sees Captain America. Captain America also tells Peter that they need to talk about what's happened as 2 WMDs have gone off on American soil, but Peter doesn't have time and attacks Captain America. Peter eventually escapes, but is worried as Captain America knows that he is Peter Parker and he might not be able to hide for very long. Then Peter breaks in to see Norman Osborn, and the final panel is Peter asking for Norman's help.
Yeah. There you go. Help me, Norman. Help me. You're my only hope. It's the kids. Marty, it's the kids. Okay, Sarah, you're great on this one.
I gave it a C.
Okay. Bruce.
B.
Ryan.
C-.
Mike.
D minus.
Okay.
Minus.
JR.
I'm going to stick with a D.
Okay. I'm giving it a B.
Oh,
I went up from the previous 2 issues. So,
Brad liked the cover. Here we go.
That's Spider Booty. George, any thoughts after hearing that story?
Why the hell is Captain America fighting, or Spider-Man fighting Captain America?
Right?
Yeah.
Do you know why? Do you know why? Because he's being emotional and he's making decisions that make absolutely no sense. He's focused on saving Mary Jane. He's focused on being there for her, and he's not thinking about the consequences of his actions. He's not thinking about the things that are rational. He's not thinking about what he should be doing and what he needs to be doing as Spider-Man. He's just reacting emotionally and just wrecking everything.
He's not being written well.
Well, that too.
Now we can. That's one thing. The Captain America scene where he sticks his hand to the shield and kicks his ass a bit. I like it. I like it in the fact that Peter is on a mission. He's not going to let a damn thing get between saving Mary Jane's life. And it's Mary Jane or Cap. I know which one Peter's picking.
I mean, there's been other times when Peter is frantic. He didn't start beating the shit out of his friends.
But they're in his way.
Yeah.
They're in his way.
Right.
They're in his way, George.
I will say, I will give that as a pro that in terms of Peter's desperation trying to get to Mary Jane. Okay, that will be a pro. That is my one. The other pro is, who was the guy who said that there was going to be who has 2 thumbs and predicted that there was going to be a time difference between this real world and this other way of thing? This guy right here. And probably so did, and a lot of other people did too. I think so. I think Brian did. I think
I figured out.
I think everybody pretty much called this one. Yeah, that thing. So seeing that nice and confirmed. Yay. Okay.
Yeah.
But
where's the scene? Doesn't he? Or is this the next issue where he punches the Human Torch?
That's later. That's coming up.
That's probably coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm not buying this.
Okay.
But
right. Now, if it was Iron Man, I could see it totally. Yeah, I'd whip Iron Man's ass too.
I think it is in character
for him to destroy Iron Man. You know,
I think it is in character for Spider-Man to do anything in his damn power to rescue Mary Jane.
Not to Captain America.
He's in his way, and time is out. He's out of time.
Don't
you think that's a cool visual?
It is a cool visual, yeah.
Oh, we know Spider-Man could beat Captain America if he did, if he wants.
I get the being frantic thing. I don't get the just kicking the shit out of Captain America because I don't have time. I don't get that.
Well, the thing, George,
that to me is
in that story, George, they kind of explained that, when he goes to get help from the FF, that they're like, Captain America told us to hold off and let, until he gets here, because the government has involved Cap to question Spider-Man about these major explosions in York, Pennsylvania. So he realizes that anybody that's going to question him, it's going to take at least a day, a week. Even Captain America said it's going to take 3 days, and Peter's like, no, I'm not going to even wait another hour. I got to get this going, And so that's why he's snapping on everybody and taking off, because they all wanted him to answer for what happened, and he doesn't want to take the time to do that right now. But so it's a different take on a grim and desperate Peter Parker, and that was one of my positives.
Peter isn't realizing that, the fact he doesn't make the connection that it doesn't matter how quickly he gets something done, and because he's already been through some kind of time dilation, right? He went somewhere, he's been there several days, he gets back, and it's only one day that has passed. But somehow he thinks
hours at most. Hours
at most, really. Seriously.
And it's not, and it doesn't occur to him that it doesn't really matter whether he. Why couldn't he always go back in time? I don't know. He's already been, I don't know if I'm making any sense, but he's already been through something where time has been warped. So why does he think that he has to move quickly to do what he's going to do when his time is not going to move the same as the time in the dimension he was in, Because
so
time travel moves is completely irrelevant.
Time travel doesn't make sense, and I don't love it.
Well, I think that's probably why he's going to the Fantastic Four first, because they figured, hey, I think this is taking place around the time when Dan Slott's run, where they had the Forever Gate thing. At least that's my headcanon going on. So
especially when they said that Rhea and Sue are with the Skrulls, which completely lines up with Dan Slott's run.
I kind of like it. JR, I'm surprised you don't like this. If Captain America wants to slow him down, if the Fantastic Four want to slow him down, he goes to Norman.
Yeah, that part doesn't track with me either.
That's actually one of my my pros.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I kind of like
pros.
The guy who murdered his girlfriend.
But here's the thing. He knows that Norman's not going to ask questions, and he's going to allow Peter to use what he needs to use to do what he has to do, because Norman has already expressed interest in, hey, I want to help you, regardless of the stuff that's happened in the past. And yes, it is a far reach. I agree with you on that one, but I mean, he doesn't help me. And Norman says yes, and that's probably all that he says. Here, use my labs, do this, do what you need to do to figure out what you've got to do to save Mary Jane.
Peter realizes
like that.
Yeah, Peter realizes that all the other places, he mentioned even some of the Captain America, I need to get to Stark's place to get help. So all these other places, they're expecting Spider-Man to show up, but to him, this is the place that's under the radar where they wouldn't expect him to show up. So they probably have the other places already staked out.
You don't like him going to your favorite hero?
I didn't say that I didn't like that.
Okay.
Oh, there is a pro.
Yeah.
No, it's not a pro.
Oh,
it's just not a con.
Mm-hmm.
It's a what?
But it's not a pro.
It's something. It's just
It's something.
The only thing that tracks for me is him getting back, and his initial instinct is to go and find Reed Richards. That tracks. The rest of it is like
even the way Captain America reacts to Peter when he says he's so frustrated, but he does it with a smile or just a look. He doesn't say, "Oh, hey, I'm going to throw my shield now that you just shoved in my face." But he actually stops and just says, "Something's not right with him."
Tough day. Yeah.
And that's the other thing. It's like the whole beating ass on Captain America. That didn't sit well with me at all, because I mean, as a Spider-Man fan, I know of Spider-Man's history and the times Captain America has been involved with him, and sure, I mean, Peter kicked his ass in Civil War, but at the same time, he respects Captain America. Like Captain America has actually gone out on a limb for Spider-Man more than once. I just don't. This doesn't fit well with me at all. Just.
Well, look what Peter's saying when he punches him. I don't have time.
Yeah, I get that. I just don't. I mean, it doesn't sit well with me.
If someone is in the way of him saving his loved one, he doesn't care. And I get that. That's Pete. I think that is Peter. I think that is Peter's MO. He's hot-headed, and he's gonna go do what he wants to save someone he loves, because he's already lost Uncle Ben. He's not going
to lose anyone else.
Yeah, he didn't give a damn. If I don't think the other issues are going to be as good as this one, personally, for me, because I liked him going up against Cap and FF. I mean, it's something I didn't expect I'd see, but when Mary Jane's life is on the line, he's going for it, in my opinion. But where were we on pros? Well, I
think we were kind of all over the
place. I just said all mine.
Did we have any other pros?
I have one.
Okay.
Well, the Grim Peter, of course, Plus, the Fantastic Four have one of those ever popular octopus guns as well.
Mm-hmm.
When he
Yeah.
tries to
the
climb up the
same?
building, there's octopus tentacles got him again, but it's not the same
Mhm.
as Paul's.
Oh,
Paul's
it's not the
much
same
more
as
cool.
Paul.
But when he
He's
was
gonna-
crawling up
he's gonna
the
pat
building, he got pulled in by the tentacles. You know, he got pulled in by the tentacles.
Poor Peter. And JR, you know how you talk about how the hell does Aunt May not know?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
Mhm.
He comes in beat up again.
Well, the
Well,
other
not
thing
only
is,
that, but he also shoves the known supervillain up against the wall and has him at his mercy. You know,
40
so,
feet he throws him.
not just up against the wall. He's smashed him into the wall. He's inside the wall. You
Yeah.
know, he
Mhm.
broke the wall with Norman Osborn.
How can she not know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and how does she keep getting younger all the time?
She sure does look young, doesn't she?
Oxy 10.
Oxy 10.
Now for Oxy 65 and plus.
Super beats.
Super beat.
Mr. Comics, no, he did not steal the backpack. He got the backpack from his house. He stopped,
Mm-hmm.
got his backpack, put a couple things
Yeah, we
in
don't
there.
know what he stole. We don't know what he stole from the F. Yeah, that hasn't come up yet.
No, we
be
really
fair.
haven't because he's not there long enough to take
Right.
anything from them.
Yeah. Okay.
Mary
Eh.
Mary asked me, doesn't this remind me of Peter beating the X-Man's ass?
Yeah.
Not really the same thing, I wouldn't say. The X-Men actually had sinister intent at that point, because they were going to leave inside with Magneto, and it was just a different thing. And
you also like FF and Cap much more than X-Men.
I
right,
do.
George?
I
So
love-
you're biased in that a little bit.
yeah, I mean, Spider-Man has teamed up with the X-Men several times. He gets along with them. He has a good relationship with them. But he actually has way more respect for Captain America and the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four are like family to him. The X-Men are not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true.
So it's it's a little bit harder of a sell for me, Mary, in this case.
Any other pros we've not mentioned? Cons. Sarah, what cons you got?
I have two.
Okay.
I know they're building up to what Peter did, but at this point, I think I've said this before. I'm super impatient. I just want to know what happened. And then I get we're in the past, and I think it's odd to have a whole current book dedicated to something that happened in the past. But I understand why, because they're trying to explain what Peter did and what happened and everything. So I'm grateful to understand more, but also frustrated that the story isn't moving forward in current time.
Sarah, you're touching on one of my big cons and why I don't really like this issue.
Go for it.
And that is this. Here we're basically getting a fast-paced issue. Basically, Peter's frantic. He's like, I'm desperate and everything. The problem is we actually know that he fails already.
Yeah.
So this whole
Oh.
conflict that he's really going to rush into, we know he's already not going to make it back in time.
Okay.
So there's no point to that. So already
There's no stakes as a
yeah,
reader,
there's
right?
no stakes involved.
I
The
got
other
you.
problem with it, the other problem with this thing is you can just see the way, because we already know what he's going to fail and we already know what's going to happen. You can kind of see how forced everything Wells is doing to try to make the object thing. For instance, why does Peter decide, oh, I'm going to take off my costume, bury it, and run around naked to try to get away from these cops who just happen to show up? There's no reason to, unless we have to have some kind of reason for him to suspect that Spider-Man caused this accident, even though there's no reason to do this. Or why does the FF not have, when he gets captured by the FF, the thing says, oh, well, you're not listed on our safety things. You've been to the Baxter building how many freaking times, Spider-Man, and you're not listed on your, like, on their, like, the people that are, you know, when he's walking up the side of the building, he still gets captured. He was a member of them. For crying out loud.
And
Yeah,
the Future
so-
Foundation
and then-
too, as Johnny's replacement.
Right. And so, yeah, but he gets captured. Oh, you're not listed on our safe things. He mentions what's going on, and Johnny Storm's like, oh no, we got to defer to Cap. Johnny Storm would be the guy who would instantly help him. Hey, we got to help this bro. Okay, fine.
That's true.
You and everything. Yeah, he would not be like, well, no, we got to defer to Cap at this. Well, since we like protocol. This is Johnny. No way. And also, I mean. And I know that understand also Peter is frustrated and everything like this and everything. Their Cap is literally saying, hey, we're here to help you, not in trouble and everything like this. Nope, we got to have a fight scene and everything like this. And of all the people he goes to, he decides, oh, we got to go to Norman Osborn. Why? Because, oh, Norman Osborn showed up in Aunt May's house. Because, and Aunt May's like, oh, Norman is suddenly such a nice guy and everything. Oh, yeah, right. Because, I mean, I'm sure Aunt May, really, Joe probably knows the history. Like, she doesn't know anything about Norman suddenly being a good guy all of a sudden and everything like this.
I mean, for all we know, Mike McNulty, Aunt May was getting ready some Ambien laced cookies for Norman.
Probably so. We don't know
when Peter got there.
I mean, after all, Aunt May should remember when Norman had her buried alive.
Right?
Oh, remember?
Yeah.
Whoa,
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So why is she suddenly like, oh, Peter, this isn't you? No, this would be exactly what Peter would do. Like Norman. I mean, I would think she would be. Why would she be okay with Norman being there? So, but everything. So a sign, like I said, there's no stakes in this thing because we already know what happens. And second, it's everything because you can kind of see, because you can justly tell that that there's trying to be deliberate context set up just to set up the point where Peter gets delayed so he can't get the Mary Jane back in time. And it seems like very artificial, like the way that's all set up. Even though, yes, I do agree that Peter would be desperate enough to try to get back to Mary Jane, however he can. The way they're going about doing it, the way they're trying to put in the obstacles in front of his path, it just seems very artificial to me. So that's what I think.
Yep.
So that's why you got a DDD minus.
Oh yes, very much so. Yeah, you can just see the
so
way.
So you like the previous two issues better than this one because because and you don't feel it's on par with Peter.
Well, no, right, because here in this instance, you can totally see like at least with those previous two issues, you can kind of see, okay, I can see where you're trying to go a little bit with the answers. This one, you can just deliberately tell that he was just trying to create like, oh, we got to create an excuse for why Peter is hated by everybody and why he's on the outs with everybody and why he didn't get back to Mary Jane in time, even if he thought if he looked at this thing and listened to him for like 2 seconds, you could have easily helped him out, especially that thing with the Fantastic Four with Johnny. Like, there's no way Johnny would be like, oh yeah, I think you're an imposter basically because we found some suit, which again, why did he take the suit off? Oh, because I would think running around in your boxer shorts would probably get you more arrested by the cops than you being dressed around as Spider-Man. But that's just me. So
ignore the naked man running through the forest. We have to spread out and find Spider-Man.
We have to find Spider-Man.
And another thing too is once Spider-Man was in the building, wouldn't the Fantastic Four security system have already scanned him and determined that he was the real Spider-Man?
Exactly.
Exactly, because they had set up, and here's the other thing is we were talking about that's during Slot's Run. Slot's Run actually, believe it or not, had Molson about a list of people who have been to the building and how to check if they're from that Earth. He himself did that. And believe it or not, and this goes with the timeline too, I think I saw it on Reddit, but somebody had contacted Ryan North, the current runner, who had done thing, and apparently Ryan North responded, well, nobody told me what was going on in Spider-Man, so I had already made my storyline. He's like, oh wow. So he was like, I proposed a storyline. Nobody told me anything was similar to it, but he said, but there are a lot of mystery boxes. But the difference is, I decided to just take it and move on with my story. The current Iron Man writer did it in issue 1 and moved on with the story. Wells is like, and lower, no, we're gonna push this out. Well, I want to do it 900. No, we gotta push it out farther. We gotta push it out farther. And the truth is, Wells didn't know.
Didn't they learn from the Clone Saga? Wrap it up when you have the end of the story. Don't push it and push it and push it farther.
Brad, what in the last 30 years tells you that they learned that lesson?
That's true. History. If you don't learn it, you're bound to repeat, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing I want to throw it up too is when Peter's trying to get back to New York. And he asks the guy, hey, could I just see the paper? And he says, screw you, check your phone. And the truth is,
that was hilarious.
That was both funny, but at the same time, I've had people all the time, that person saying, hey, do you know what time it is? And I have an Apple Watch or I have a phone, or they've done or somebody looks at the paper and goes, oh, I didn't know about that. And then they pull out their phone. So which is funny because this guy, the phone next time you creep, made me go like, in New York, believe it or not, there's people that ask all the time, and even Chicago, like, oh, hey, what's that story about? Oh, it's this. Why don't you look it up? Oh, I don't have a phone. Oh, well, there's a paper. Go grab one.
I do.
Someone in chat thought he was wearing a Thundercats hat.
I was just thinking that.
It's Penn State. That's Penn State.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Penn State.
I do find it funny that the guy reading the newspaper tells Peter to check his phone. It's like, hey, and you don't have a phone that has that the New York Times on there? Because Well, oh well.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. But yeah, this was just this. But yeah, this was just this whole thing was just you could just see one of those things. Like it's definitely one of those things where, like I said earlier, if Wells basically had the end game in mind and he's trying to work his way backwards, and in order to do that, he's he's deliberately trying to put in pieces to try to, and it feels artificial. I think it's artificial tension, it's artificial stakes, it's artificial, obstacles. Everything about it doesn't feel natural. Now, if this thing had come out before we knew what the result was, maybe it would be a different story. But since we already know the end result, what this end result is, and since this came out after the fact, that's where the problem. That's where to me the problem lies.
Other cons that we've not mentioned, JR.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking too, and Mike has eviscerated this story pretty well. But this is a story meant to serve as this is another agenda-driven story. It's not an organic story. The story is to get Peter and Mary Jane split up again. So they're just coming up with another wacky way of doing it, and instead of just starting out and telling us, I don't know, but making us wait this long, and it's not going to be worth it. But no, there's nothing that tells you this is a story that needed to be told. It's not an organic Spider-Man story. It's an agenda in search of, an interpretation. So.
You know what I was thinking about when I was in the can just now?
Why has Penn State not won a national championship in 5 years?
What?
Besides that, the fact that, remember back when they ended the marriage originally, and Quesada was trying to sell the whole thing of, think of all the stories we can tell now. We're not limited, by the marriage, which, a good writer actually wouldn't be. I was having a leak in there, and I was thinking, well, wait a minute, hang on.
The ideas were flowing.
Wouldn't the stakes be higher in all this if they had been married?
Oh yeah, good point.
Definitely.
Wouldn't people give more of a damn about this story if they were married?
Or or the characters would be like, well, what's wrong, Peter? Is something happened to Mary Jane?
Yeah, I at that point I could buy the whole frantic thing a little bit more. I'm still not buying that he just starts to kick the shit out of Captain America. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it feels like if they had been married, this story would have way more weight to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, all you gotta do is say, "Hell, my wife's trapped in another dimension with a big demon that's trying to kill her." That's all you got, I mean, I think people would relate to that. Well, what do you need, pal?
I'll relate to that, can't we?
Well, I mean, Captain America knows Mary Jane. He taught Mary Jane martial arts. He'd be like, "Oh, well, a well-written captain in the situation would be like, oh God, what can I do?"
Mm-hmm. Here's the cover for the next issue. Norman building a new spider suit.
That's the suit that he's going to be wearing later on. The ones. That's what this is supposed to be for. Which again goes back to my early point. We don't have time. We got to do it now. Remember, it took him 6 months where he disappeared and tried to get back to her. So we know that. So much for being in a hurry there. Norman's like, oh yeah, we don't have time. We don't have time. Like, oh, but I'm going to go ahead and build you this new suit. So
I also like when they explain why the FBI is like, well, weapon of mass destruction went off. Like in the Marvel universe or the DC universe, that's every day that ends with Y.
That's Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now I could see Captain America or Spider-Man looking at Captain America and saying, "Oh, hey, the FBI can kiss my dimpled ass." I get that. I just don't get him fighting Captain America, just beating ass on him.
Brad, that cover you just showed reminded me of the old original Spider Slayer with Jonah Jameson and how he had the tentacles come out to grab, Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
The Ditko issue. Yeah. Same idea.
Any other thoughts on this one before we start wrapping it up?
None of this makes any goddamn sense.
I've got a couple images I want to show. We showed it in the previous show, but it's got some images of stuff coming up. We've got some... It looks like another fight with this Ray-Ban or whatever his name is.
That's actually supposed to be a flash. I think this is a flashback to what we
Yeah,
Is this
if
a
you look at the
flashback? Oh,
if you look
yeah,
at
yeah.
the costume and the device. So
Okay,
that's
so we have a
took the device
flashback.
and activated it.
This looks like Paul and Mary Jane fighting after Peter left.
Yeah, because I
Let's
think
meme
whether
that. Let's
she's
meme
upset
that.
because probably Raven's saying like, "Oh, he's not going to be able to come back," and she's like, "No, shut up,
Right.
you're lying." He's like, "Okay, fine," and so
And here's what I was getting confused. Does he go back to the Fantastic Four and fight him?
I think
With this
so. I
ship?
think that's what's
Yeah,
going on
because
here. Because
You saw that image of Mr. Fantastic involved at some point too, because he wasn't
Right.
around for the issue that we just read.
And I
There.
think it has something to do with the dimensional gate, which is something Norman does not have.
right.
And
yes.
this again, it's brothers fighting. Like these two are the best friends together, and he's so willing to go get Mary Jane. He pops him, and his
And
hands
actually
on
catches
fire.
his
Look at
hand on
that.
fire.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool. But
Mhm.
and then he's even willing to punch Reed. He's so angry and lost his damn mind that the Invisible Woman has to stop.
Now,
him
see,
from punching him.
in all this, I could actually see if they were fighting that Sue would actually be able to calm Peter the hell down.
Yeah, that goes
they've
back to that
always
Kirby.
does.
That's
They've always gone
completely-
along.
Yeah, it's completely Sue. And the way
Yeah.
Reed's even reacting too is completely him.
Well, she's calmed him down before, right? I mean, even as
Yeah.
far back as Spider-Man number 8.
Yeah.
You know, and
Look at Captain America drop Peter on his ass here. Look at this,
Mhm. They're like,
man.
"Son, you're
You need to calm
You're
down.
getting angry. You need to calm down for
This is-
being angry for no dang reason."
This is Cap having to teach lessons. Listen, you're Spider-Man. I'm the living legend of World War II. How about you sit down and shut up and listen for a minute?
Get your time out.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and then there's variant covers. And look at that thing on her wrist. That
Oh,
looks
yes.
very
And
similar.
notice,
to what
and
the
notice
Mayan
where it's
God put on her.
positioned.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's,
it's on the same
yeah.
arm and hand, isn't it?
yeah. It's basically what it is. So that's how she'd probably be drawing her Jackpack powers is from the Ray-Ban or the Ray-Rabin, mark of whatever. From
Does anyone want Mary Jane to have powers? I don't.
Apparently
No.
Marvel does. It's funny because it's yet another thing. Remember, like when Jackpot was first around, and people actually assumed it was
Yeah.
Mary Jane,
Mhm.
and then it wasn't, and then no one cared.
Yeah.
You know, after we
Except
found out it
Sony.
wasn't. After we
Yeah.
found out it wasn't Mary Jane, the fan base is like, oh, okay, so there's really no reason to care about.
So
this character
really,
at all.
our only two options here for Mary Jane's fate is either one, she temporarily dies, or she becomes Jackpot number 3 or something like that.
Yeah,
Because
3.0.
Not 3.
Yeah.
Did you notice on the artwork on these two covers? It says John Romita Jr. 20. It's almost like he drew
Yeah.
these 3 years ago. It says John
Oh,
Romita Jr.
maybe.
20.
Yeah.
Is that a 20?
I think it's
Is it
20. It doesn't look like a
2020?
3.
It's supposed to be 20. Is it supposed to be 2020 when you drew these, or what's going to deal? Yeah.
Looks like 20.
It does look like a 0.
Maybe these were old variant covers that they asked him to do.
Maybe he. Yeah.
That's
But these
very
are
possible.
variants. This is not the
But
main
wait.
cover.
In
Here's the
2020,
main cover.
In 2020, wasn't he exclusive with DC still?
Yeah, I think
Oh.
he might have been.
Yeah, he was.
I don't know. Yeah.
I wonder if they might have been sometimes he's done he's said this at conventions, and I've been at them too. Sometimes he will work on pieces, and sometimes they will eventually become variants or sometimes pinups and everything else too, because he does that. So that's a possibility. He
Seriously,
did that
this
during
Gwen Stacy.
quarantine in 2020 during his free time, and then they were like, oh hey, John, we want to buy those. And
So
use
the
them.
comic
He's like,
shop's
"Okay,
got to
cool."
order 100 of these to get this one copy of Gwen
Oh, good.
Stacy.
Oh, good
Yes.
grief.
Good luck on that one.
This is why I was saying. I mean, Gwen's never been so more, as marketable as she was alive as she is dead.
Just like Craven.
This is why I don't think they'll care about killing Mary Jane off, is because they know they can still make money off of Mary Jane. We'll just keep. Oh, look, it's Mary Jane from an alternate universe. Oh,
Not to burst your bubble, Shy-Town, about the ring on the finger, but
Whose finger?
Is there a ring?
we do know thanks to a certain recap page that she was, quote, mysteriously married to Paul. Still don't know his last name. So there is that. So
Oh, is there a ring
is
on
a
the
ring
finger
on-
here?
yes, if you look at the
Is that where you
cover,
see it?
she's
Yep, she's got it.
oh, good
Where?
grief.
In this
Yeah.
this image?
No, not when she's being a Sarah Connor, rehash here. It's yeah. Keep going.
Go back to the
This
one where
one?
she has the devices on her
The black
wrist.
suit
go
variant?
She goes to the
Go
jackpot
back
thing.
to the go back
Go
to
to
the
jackpot.
one.
Oh, that one. Oh, yep. There's a ring.
There is a rain, and I
Yep.
think it's because there is one on there, and I think it's implying that because remember we did get a recap page that she was quote mysteriously married to Paul in that one thing. So I guess, and if she's got that thing, that's going to be the
And then the very
you
next
know,
issue in the recap page, it didn't say married, it said relationship.
right.
Yep.
Because again, thanks
It's like-
Nick Lowe, because Nick Lowe, it's almost like Nick Lowe can't edit. Oh wait,
It's either that they're
Don't
either
say,
they're
Michael.
they're either incompetent, which there's a lot of evidence for that, or it's that they don't even know themselves what they want.
Well, I already told you the story about Ryan North that somebody had asked him to, and he apparently revealed, like, I didn't know what was going on over there.
Yeah,
right, yeah. Again, it's Nick Lowe. He's like, I mean, his track record speaks, or lack thereof, speaks volumes. So,
Yeah.
And which is funny, we talked about Tom Brevoort and anything. I was watching you guys in the other show, but there was a time where that was Tom Brevoort's job in the late 90s. He had to keep the continuity between not only the Avengers books, but also some of the other titles like X-Men and Spider-Man to make sure things flowed correctly so they would touch base on things. And somewhere around 2006, he said, well, whatever.
Well, I mean, in fairness, it was probably way harder for Brevoort to keep track of all that stuff because Marvel itself, including Quesada, I mean, that was the attitude from on down. Remember, Quesada was like, "Oh, continuity's a noose." Remember, that was the whole reason they did the Ultimate line in the first place, so they wouldn't be saddled with all these backstories. Oh God, they're so heavy. Oh,
well, and Paul Levitz at DC at one point, just before Infinite Crisis was wrapping up, said he was trying to keep everything straight to the fact that his desktop computer was a nightmare. So he said when the storyline was finally over and he was done writing his little Justice site, he completely deleted his entire desktop. He said that's how much it was, and he just couldn't keep track of it anymore.
Well, I mean, DC's even more of a mess. It's Marvel shouldn't be as bad as DC, but I mean, they can't help themselves.
Do a couple questions and answers from the fans and the viewers here. If you got some for us, put them in the comments. We're getting ready to wrap it up. I've got one I'm going to pull up. Duke the Legend said, "Holy crap! I didn't even know you all were on."
That's why you got to hit the
how you
subscribe
fix that,
notification
dude.
bell.
You gotta ring that bell.
You
Click like
go
and
to
subscribe.
go to the YouTube channel and you click and subscribe to it. I'm on the admin angle, so you probably can't see it, but you click on the subscribe, you hit the little bell, you'll get a notification. We're
Yeah, you
trying to
can
get
do it
this
right
up
there
to
from the video.
2,000. So if you're watching right now, yes, you can do it from the video. You can click on the video. It says we're live right now on this show. And I also started some shorts. JR, your underboob short is here from a couple
And
weeks
I
ago.
do love the shorts.
Shorts are like the big new craze
one-
now on all the YouTube channels.
Mm-hmm.
They're
They
the things
are.
they're the things that actually get the clicks now because our as a society, as a culture,
attention span is
our
shot to
attention
hell.
span is just so tiny now.
George, my little green
is.
screen
Look.
script I did 2 weeks ago got 30 views in 2 hours. That's more than any of my review shows have gotten, being 3 minutes.
Yeah.
With my dog jumping into my
I thought it
green
was
screen.
I thought it was amazing that the Spider-Man little short Kelly and I were talking about with JR and Sarah here. That's up to nearly 2,000 views just where we talked
yeah.
about that panel. So
Well,
it's
because
crazy
that
how
one was all
viral that thing went.
because part of it also because it just that whole bit where basically Joe Kelly tried to write the most clumsy way possible. Mary Jane's like a sister to me, but
Yeah, the
well, no,
sister
I was
thing
lying.
a
No,
big
I
thing.
mean, no, she's like
It was a mess.
Oh, yeah, when the whole thing was supposed to be about like, oh, I love her, but I'm not in love with her, so I'm kind of ready to move on. Maybe
Again, if you want to
like that.
subscribe, youtube.com/Spider-Man Crawlspace, all one word. You can get notifications. We have
Indeed.
Walter that says pro Crawlspace gang makes Spider-Man fun to listen to. Con Marvel can't make Spider-Man fun to read.
Walter's
Man,
not wrong.
True.
Walter. MJWP, what are your thoughts on the leaks for the future of Mary Jane, Paul, and the kids? What are the leaks? What are the rumors? I don't not aware. Help me out.
Okay, I
Take me
know
through
what
it, Mike.
these are. Okay, so the way that this is, again, take it with a grain of salt because I know where these came from. One of the leaks, the thing they're saying is that the kids are fake because as the number is one of them.
Because
the other one, because again, symbolism, because they were, I guess, created somehow. The other thing is that Paul
symbols.
and MJ are that Paul and MJ are actually not together. They're just doing that for the kids because. And the other thing is too is that what is this thing? So it's the whole thing is basically it's kind of a ruse to try to that the whole thing that Paul and Mary and MJ's relationship is all a ruse to try to keep Webb or Raven away from Peter. Essentially, it's some weird thing like basically that the whole thing is supposed to be like it's a distraction thing, and that the kids are basically somehow were created rather than actually that MJ did that they were MJ's biological kids. So that is one thing going around, and also I think it has something to do with the jackpot powers or something. I don't know, but I guess that's. Take it as you will. I mean, that's some part of it could be like wishful thinking or something on somebody's part, but supposedly that the idea is that the original plan, and also they claim that the original plan was, Paul was just some dude, and that Mary Jane was, and he was just a kid, but then because of the pushback, we're going to change it a little bit to make Paul to be like, I am, Paul the living meme now or something.
Didn't the Scarlet Witch have fake kids too? I mean, is that like
Division?
It
was even in one division.
They're just going to steal another thing. I mean, the kids are fake.
I kind of earlier on one of these things when we did the thing about the solicit thing, Brad. I kind of speculated maybe the kids were kind of fake because I didn't really buy the idea that somehow these are because if you look at Peter, if you look at the kids. Oh, by the way, that was another thing. We find out that that's how you can also tell that Wells was kind of making this up as going on because the daughter's name was originally Romy. Now it's Stephanie, and now we finally get a name for the son who's Owen. And the way Ramita draws these kids, they look way too much like younger versions of Peter and MJ. Yeah, and it's like, I don't know. Yeah, and there was no way. And would they really go as far as say somehow MJ was pregnant while she was in the other dimension and gave birth to Peter's kids? I don't think they would do that. But
I hope these aren't Peter's kids because
I
the
know
boy's kind of
that's the
stupid.
thing. Well, yeah, because this would be. Yeah. I mean, they would. I mean, but that's the thing. They would put themselves in the corner if they were actually, even. If they were somehow Peter's kids, or even if they were MJ's kids with Paul or something like that, it just put me. The logical assumption would be that these were MJ's and Paul's kids. But the problem is the kids don't look like they don't look like. Well, depends on how Paul's drawn. Actually.
How much Paul DNA they have? Yeah,
it's also
what kind of mood JR's in.
Yeah. Exactly, because it's like
Because believe it or not, it looked like Christy at one point was Stephanie. Roni. Whatever.
Yeah,
really, they changed 2 letters in her name. At one point, somebody's like, "Well, somebody must have screwed that up. I thought it was Romney, and it was Roni." And then she was Stephanie, and people went, "Wait a second."
Right? Yeah. Again,
our friend Muhammad, who, by the way, if you haven't looked at the variants each week on the front page, he does a great job. He sent me a DM. He goes, "Here's the leaks. Number 1, the kids are magical, most likely will disappear. Number 2, Paul was changed due to backlash and will maybe be killed. Number 3, Mary Jane will be keeping her powers. Number 4, Mary Jane, to protect Peter, had to drive him away, was still faithful, but did too good a job. Peter stays with Felicia. Number 5, Mary Jane will decide to become a superhero to maybe get closer to Peter and repair their relationship, which would most likely cause problems for Peter and Felicia." Again, I think these are Reddit rumors. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, these are Reddit rumors.
I don't,
there's also like 4chan stuff. Is like this. I mean, I could see him doing the thing with like MJ keeping her powers and becomes like Jackpot 3.0 or something like that.
I don't buy that that Marvel wouldn't like the backlash from the fans over Paul and would decide to kill Paul off. I think with the backlash against Paul, Marvel doesn't give a damn.
Right.
Marvel's just going to do what it wants to do. It doesn't really care if we like it or not. They just expect us to buy it.
Now the other thing I've heard too is they could pull like, okay, like in like MJ dies in 25, but then she comes back in 26 as with all
As
her
jackpot
full blown powers or something.
Three
Like that.
point.
God,
This
is all sounds. This all just sounds so bad.
Couple things we got from the fans. Heroing says, where can I read Kevin's Crawlspace webcomic that I've been listening to some old podcast episodes and I'm interested. I tried to use the link at the Crawlspace website, but no luck. That was housed on the old message board, which I took down, and also due to Kevin's request, he asked for all of his posts to be taken down, so they don't exist anymore due to Kevin's request.
That's a shame. But
so sorry that you can't read those, even though those were pimped a lot on those old Crawlspace episodes. But,
interestingly enough, Kevin actually did somewhat predict Parker Industries in a sense, because in one of those things he had it so that in a kind of a way, in a weird way, which I thought was kind of, because thinking back on that, and then he wrote that was like, I don't know when he wrote those things, but that was back
the podcast is 17 years old this year.
Yeah.
So it was probably 15 years ago is probably when he did
Yeah, and
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Speaking of, before I get to other questions, the Crawlspace is 25 years old this year in August. If you have some suggestions, maybe in chat or email me, spidermancrawlspace@gmail.com, how would you like to celebrate 25 years of the website? I have an idea of one thing I'd like to do. You'll see it later. But if you have some ideas, we'll probably do a live caller show like we do once a year, which is always chaotic, but also fun.
Very chaotic.
Very chaotic.
On the chaotic.
But you can call in and we could have you talk about whatever you want to talk about, how you found the Crawlspace, have a birthday party, whatever, in August. So that'll be fun.
I think Brad
25 years
presents.
You what?
Brad buying everybody presents would be a good way to celebrate the 25th anniversary.
Yeah, because you're so nice to me, JR.
Hey, Brad bought me pizza one time.
I did buy you pizza. Yeah, I did. Yeah, by the way, you're the only Crawlspacer I've ever met in person, which is George. It'd be nice to meet everybody. Bruce is trying to get me out. Bruce is trying to get me out to that spider thing. If they'll fly me out.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I'm going to that, so
I could meet two Crawlspacers in once. That's fun.
Yeah, that reminds me. I need to make a perler bead Spider-Man thing for Sarah and Bruce and send that to them too. I just thought of that.
Matt says Mary Jane's going to dive. Wait, hasn't guns in Spider-Man history? JR? Mary Jane ever packing?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And Marvel Knight Spider-Man. She shot Norman Osborn, or shot the Green Goblin.
She's also used a baseball bat.
For the chameleon. Yeah. Jonathan asks, do you think it would take plummeting sales for Marvel to ever think of undoing one more day, or would they rather see it crash before they give us anything?
They would rather it crash than be wrong and us be right. Yeah. At this point, it is absolutely an ego thing with them. They have to be right and we have to be wrong. That's the only way Marvel thinks now.
Mr. Comics says, my theory is that Paul is the stepdad. Those kids don't look like him. Peter's the dad, and MJ was pregnant when they were trapped. Oh,
well,
Mary Jane pregnant.
Yeah, and I think you could do it that way. But then again, would Marvel really want Peter to basically? Because remember, Marvel botched the idea of having Peter be the father of twins. Of the Stacy twins. Would they really go that far in having her be the dad of MJ's kids that she gave birth in some alternate, Mayan apocalypse dimension or something?
I can kind of see it.
Maybe. Yeah.
I could see it in a way that just them giving us the middle finger again. Like we, in a way like we want Peter and MJ together, or a lot of fans do. I don't want to speak for everybody on here. But they know a lot of fans want to see the marriage restored. They hear about it all the time. So why not, as a kind of a never going to happen way, have her have kids with somebody else? Absolutely.
You could. They could do it that way and everything like this. But again, it's like he's saying the way JR draws, Romita Jr. draws those kids, they look like miniature versions of Peter and MJ. They don't look like it's too much. it's almost like they're like that's why people were thinking maybe they were clones or something like that.
Are they at least keeping the hair consistent? Because that's something that they couldn't do years ago.
The
Remember we used to talk about that.
The hair is well. Here's the funny thing about this, because they did because Marvel did release like one of those things like where they have like the script pages for like the first issue. And what's interesting in that thing is they specifically do mention the hair color of the kids. The boy has dark hair and the girl has red, and they don't mention what Paul looks like. But they are specific.
Here, I can show you the kids.
Yeah, they are specific. They specifically mention what the kids look like via hair color, which is.
There's some.
But are they consistent with it from like issue to issue? Because Marvel,
yeah,
used
they
to be
are
their thing,
actually.
like under Low and then under even Whacker before then. A lot of times they couldn't keep hair color consistent.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I know what you're getting, but yeah, in this case, they are all the remainder got from the script was basically make sure the kid's hair color is dark and make sure the girl has red hair.
Makes you just think that the kids are not real.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it's possible because we did get the thing from Paul still don't know his last name. Like, they can basically these symbols can make things real. So.
We got a question from Walter. He says, do you think this generation of comic readers are going to have any idea how the characters are supposed to act in the comic and not the movies?
No, probably not. In most cases, no.
Yeah. I think there's more people that watch the movies and that read the comics, so that's how they think the default is.
Yeah. Spider-Man in the comics is not Tom Holland. Like Spider-Man in the comics would never have an instant kill mode on his suit, ever.
Yep.
The question was about comic readers, though. So, if they are the current generation of comic readers, thankfully, the Masterworks and omnibuses are all out there as far digital that they could go back and see the originals. But hopefully, they would do that as comic readers.
It's one of the free services that we provide here at the Crawlspace. We actually tell you how the character should act.
Well, we're excited because I think Peter is acting within character, and you guys, several don't.
Yeah, but most of the time you're wrong, and I think most of the viewers know that by now.
We have a question for the fan-friendly favorite, JR. JR, you said you might drop ASM at 1,000. Will you join George and become Crawlspace version of the Muppet Statler and Waldorf laughing from the balcony?
I feel like we already are.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I'm like already there.
Aren't we already?
Here, let's put them up together up in the top. There you go. There. Which one's Statler? Which one's Waldorf?
I think I have to. I don't know which one's the bald one. Which one's the bald one with like really
Statler
white hair?
Waldorf. I don't know. I can't tell.
I can't remember which ones they are. I just know that.
I can't either.
The white-haired one is on the left, and then the other guy's on the right, I believe. So
yeah,
George,
I think. Huh?
George was actually quoting me, Great Muppet Caper with the Happiness Hotel on Facebook this week. I love that. What's the line that you did? I love that line. Something's gone to hell.
Still, the management is cheerful, though the whole place has gone to hell. welcome home to Happiness Hotel.
Happiness Hotel. I love
Statler's the one with the mustache.
I would be Statler then.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. We've got. By the way, JR, you dropping it at 1,000? I hope not, because.
I'm not even so sure I'm going to last to 1,000, but I tell you, I'm not so sure Marvel is going to last to 1,000. I mean, I've never been one of these that believes that Marvel and DC is going to go away. I mean, I've never been one of those who believes that. But I've long held the belief that Disney, for example, is going to do what they've done with their regular publishing and just license it out. You know, I mean, it just, you know, and although this whole thing with Perlmutter and Iger and stuff, I mean, some of that is just payback. But to be honest, this was long overdue for them to consolidate Marvel Entertainment and get rid of Perlmutter. And anyway, I mean, that should have been done ages ago. I just, you know, I don't know. You know what? You know, 1,000. How many? It's like what, about 80 issues, 40 months.
No, here we got did the math. MJWP says 3.5 years, or unless you're Mary Jane, 5 minutes.
Well, we'll see if I'm alive then, because I'll be going on 63 years old then. So
3.5 years away. By the way, JR, when the Perlmutter stuff came out, they talked about how Marvel is successful in the comics industry, and they sell what did I read 50 to 60 million a year in comics? Did I see that?
I don't know. I don't know what story
But
you're referencing.
I don't know what will happen with Perlmutter being fired and ending Marvel Entertainment. How it's all under Feige. We didn't really talk about that on the news.
They
but
just Disney just named a guy.
Okay.
They created
it's
a
you,
new,
Bruce. No,
They created a new
Paul.
they created a new executive position, and I can't remember this guy's name, who is basically their chief creative officer over the brands.
okay.
And this dude is going to have like final say on what goes on in like Star Wars and Marvel. So it's like Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige have somebody above them now creatively.
And that person's in charge of Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah, pretty much
Interesting.
everything. He's in charge of princesses. He's in charge of everything. Hang on, let me see if I can find.
Princess.
Let me see if I
Marvel
can
and
find
Star
this.
Wars.
Let me see if I
Maybe
can
it's
find
way
this
up.
guy's name.
I mean, eventually somebody's going to figure out they can make more money by licensing the publication than they can by actually producing them themselves.
How would they do that? Print is dying, JR.
No,
His
what I'm
name-
saying is by literally having somebody pay them to make comics, instead of Marvel
Yeah.
publishing the comics anymore.
I don't think they realize. I don't think Disney realizes it actually has a publishing company. so.
Mohammed's on it, George. He just sent me a DM. His name is
Assad.
Assad Ayaz,
Yeah.
first chief brand officer in Disney's history.
I think
Thank
this
you,
is
Mohammed.
Brad's announcement for the 25th anniversary that Crawlspace is taking over.
Well,
We've
we
been
have
bought by Disney.
Yeah, we've been bought by. We love the mouse.
We're the ones that are going to take over Marvel Comics.
No,
There you
Brad,
go.
they should pay you millions of dollars. They would just own you. They could replace all of us with yes men, right?
Yes, men and women. Yes.
And we talk about how who Wells is the dream writer on ASM.
We love some
Mhm.
Paul.
And then Brad, you could share that money with us.
Yeah.
Brad's like, I could, or I could just keep it.
That's
And
the one time I
something that's irritating me about this whole Perlmutter thing is everybody. I mean, a lot of these YouTubers or whatever are like setting Perlmutter up as some kind of a guy who had integrity, because he wanted to keep Marvel within a budget, and he wanted to fire Kevin Feige, because he thinks that Perlmutter doesn't give a shit about these characters. Perlmutter, it's funny because Perlmutter's complaining about being fired. He's done the same thing. That's how he made his fortune, buying businesses and shuttering them and just disposing of the assets and getting rid of the employees. He's been a miserly, cheap SOB. And all of a sudden, and the reason, they finally got rid of him is because he didn't want to pay Downey to do Civil War,
Mhm.
and it was like,
Mhm.
it just, I don't know what it is where people forget history. They should read Comic Wars. I mean, Ike Perlmutter
Mhm.
is not our friend or pal or buddy.
Mhm.
We are, he's one of the elitist. He doesn't care about ordinary people or what they want. He only cares about making a profit.
Right. And that should have been evident when back in the days where he basically decided, oh, we're to basically shaft like the Fantastic Four and the X-Men characters because we don't actually own the movie rights to those things because Fox does. And so he was trying to purposely shelve them or trying to diminish them. So just so he could think that, oh, that way we can stick to Fox. And it didn't, which didn't really
have
work.
a couple more questions from the viewers. Josh says, "Is the What Did Peter Do mystery as underwhelming as you all feared?"
Well, I'm not reading it, but after listening to it tonight, it sounds like a big bowl of ass. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
big hot bowl of
Because
ass.
it is.
and yeah, and
Jury
that's
is
the
still
thing.
out.
And that's the thing. It's
Uh.
one of those things where I think it's partly because you had the mystery box thing going for so long, like basically like anything that he would have come up with at this point, it'd be like it's like any mystery box. It's like you better have a good solid payoff to it because otherwise, if you don't, it's like, oh wow, you just wasted a lot of time. Kind of like what happened with Lost. Remember they had all those.
Oh,
mysteries with
yeah.
Lost?
Yep.
And then the payoff was just really awesome
Lost
because
and Dexter.
again,
Bad ending.
Interestingly enough, with Lost, it's like those creators were also thinking, yeah, we didn't really know what the smoke monster was when we first came up with it.
Well, that's the problem. To bring it all
So-
home to Star Wars again, I
Yeah.
thought the last 3 Star Wars, it would have been nice if they would have had a beginning and an end figured out before they even started filming it.
It
They
would.
did- they didn't.
It would have
Yeah.
been. They didn't. No, they just
They didn't.
no.
And-
Well, you
yeah.
had Abrams come in and with the first movie actually give them a legitimate
Setup.
base to move from. Like the
Mhm.
first episode was the best episode of the 3,
Mhm.
and say, okay, here's a new status quo. Here's a good place to go from. And then the next guy that came behind him said, "Yeah, screw that. I'm just gonna do all the stupid shit I want to do."
Now,
yeah, right.
I like the second one, and I'm in the minority. And
You
George
are.
is-
You are.
I know.
Hugely in the minority.
Ryan Johnson, I didn't think did that. Who also did the
Knives Out.
I'm
Knives Out
sorry.
movies, which are great.
I'm sorry to tell you, Brad, that they yanked his. They had
He did.
planned for like a new thing with him. He was going to have like a different
I remember.
movie.
The new trilogy.
They
They also
that
yanked
from
Patty Jenkins, probably because they saw Wonder Woman 84.
Ryan Johnson's
Yeah.
trilogy went the way of Benioff's and Weiss's as well.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Mhm.
and Kevin Feige. Feige was supposed to have
Feige
a
was
Star
going to do
Wars
one. He
movie.
backed out too.
And no, he didn't back out. They yanked it from him.
They yanked it. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Busy enough.
canceled it and said, well, I think it's because the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going ass up now, and I think they said maybe why don't you focus on getting your backyard in order before you.
I hope Guardians is
go
good. I hope
somewhere
they
else.
end Guardians well. in
Oh,
the
yeah,
next month.
same
Yeah,
here.
I think that looks good.
Yeah,
I'm not
Uh,
prepared for it because I think it's going to be sad.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
With Rocket, yeah. Don says, can we donate? Yes. Patreon.com/Spider-Man Crawlspace. No, I'm getting the damn thing wrong. Patreon.com/Crawlspace. Also, you can become a super chat here in YouTube. You can also be a member on YouTube. You get your little icons. You get your little, that's $3.99 a month. So yes, you can help me pay the bills. MJWP says Mary Jane also used a gun in her last appearance in Iron Man. Unfortunately, she did not shoot Tony Stark like George likes. Mike says that I'm with George. They actually hate us. To them, we're the crazy folks who send them death threats when Spidey dies. Mike, I'll push back. I really don't think the creators go in and say, how can we piss them off?
Oh no, I don't think that's the
I don't
case at
think
all.
that's
I think
true. I don't think they hate us. I think they
Yeah.
want to have us talk for 2 hours about 3 issues
Oh,
and
sure.
have debate and sell comics with debate. I don't think their intent is to go and say, how we hate them, let's give them the worst book possible.
I do think
Yeah,
they
no.
resent that we want things that they don't want,
right.
and
Yeah,
that we're
that's
so
true.
vocal about it. And I think
Yeah.
that makes them resentful.
Yeah, I mean, in the end of the day, these guys are in the industry of basically like trying to tell stories and everything like this. But at the same time, they also feel like, what they feel that is best for the fans is not often what the fans want. And there's definitely that mentality go on sometimes with the idea that, especially with regards to with who Peter should be with Mary Jane or Black Cat and everything like this. It's definitely one of those things where, like, Sapolsky said, we have a preference. There is not a mandate, but there is a definite.
We have a preference
a
of a single
definite thing-
Peter.
Yeah, there is definitely anything that the writers do have a certain vision of what, in that bullpen, what Spider-Man should be. And right now, it doesn't necessarily match with what the fans want. But they're at the same time, it's not they're doing this out of hatred for the fans. It's more like they just do it because they feel like, hey, if the fans like it, great. If the fans hate it, hey, that's even more great because hate buying is a thing.
It's except when you stop reading the book, like myself and Chi-Town.
Yeah.
And
Chi-Town,
at that point,
And
you're not
Yep.
making any money off of us.
Nope.
Josh says he's quoting Dan Slott's motto, which is, quote, an enraged fan is an engaged fan.
Not
That
necessarily
is
true.
actually kind of true, unless you piss
It's-
them off so
and-
much to the point they
Well,
stop
until
buying.
they drop the book, like George is
Yeah.
not giving them any money.
Yeah.
Chi-Town has stopped giving them money.
Mhm.
If
yeah.
enough
And
people
if
stop
you-
giving them money, they will change.
no,
if
they
you
won't.
don't want
They
shitty
won't.
stories anymore, the best way you can show that is to stop buying it. Although JR has a point. I mean, and it's what we talked about earlier. They would rather tell the story they want to tell and have the book tank,
Mhm.
and than acquiesce and start giving stories that like the fans might like.
Well,
They would
Murdoch
rather- they would
says
rather
he also
go down.
has stopped buying the book. He's no longer reading it.
And here's
Yeah,
the thing
so
too. I mean,
there you go.
here's the thing. They are, like I said, I mean, they are totally committed to this, to One More Day sticking. I mean, they had a chance to end it with Nick Spencer, and look what happened there. I mean, it's just like it got to the point where it's like when he started getting close to that, hey, maybe I'm gonna undo it. Maybe I do it. It's like, let's undo Since Past It Said. That's a bad story. We'll just do that. we'll
We got
compromise.
let's some other comments because we're gonna need to wrap it up. Matt Bird says Mary Jane used a gun when Jonathan Caesar kidnapped her. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Jonathan also says if Disney licensed out Spidey, we might actually get a good story. Heroing says, what are some Spider stories that you guys have reread the most? Bruce, what have you read in your 52 years the most of?
Well, you got to go back to the OG Ditko.
Yep.
My favorite storyline, of course, is number 31 through 33, the Master Planner. And 33, when I talk at conventions, at my presentations, I always bring that one up as, to me, it has the most dramatic 4-page sequence of any comic book in superhero history. And, things were a little bit more basic back then, but it was still, taken seriously. And it was a cool storyline.
Sarah, what have you reread the most?
That's a good question. Probably the same as Bruce, honestly. The Ditko issues.
Ramita.
But if I were to pick something more recent, I guess it would be the stuff from the 80s, for sure.
That's something I reread a lot. The Roger Stern stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the John Romita Jr.
The Stern
stuff I
and,
reread a lot.
and the DeFalco stuff.
Yeah.
The DeFalco, the Fire Lord fight, the Peter David, Here Cometh the Commuter. I read that a lot. Not a lot, but I go back to it. I unlike the two gentlemen to my right, I like the Todd McFarlane Venom stuff.
Wait, whoa. I've been on record as saying I enjoyed the first appearance of Venom.
Yeah.
Like the actual Venom.
ASM
Venom just
298.
got stupider the more they used it. And it just got old, and then it finally devolved into brains, which some people love. They're like, oh, give me more brain eating, whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm too smart to read this. I can't do
And
it.
now he's having a summer of symbiotes. So,
AKA
Yeah.
but yeah, the DeFalco stuff. 80. What do you read the most again, JR? Do you go back and reread old stuff? Well, I obviously do with Spider History.
Yeah, I was about to say I've had to. I don't know. I would say that, like, for example, I've bought more versions of issues 39 and 40. The Goblin reveal. I think I've got different variations of that, different printings from various years. The original Spectacular 2 story has always been a story that was special for various reasons. And
the magazine, the big
the
oversized
magazine,
magazine. Yeah.
And probably Peter Parker 75 when Norman comes back. So
George, what do you look back on? What do you reread?
I'm like Sarah. I go back and I reread stuff from like Stern and DeFalco.
Yep.
I also go back and read stuff from Stan and Romita Sr.
Yeah.
That for me was when I think I've probably said this before. I'm sorry, Bruce, cover your ears. But
He's a
I'm
Romita
not-
man.
I'm not as much of a Ditko Spider fan as I am like a Ditko Doctor Strange fan. I felt like, going back and reading those stories when, I was first getting into comics, that like Ditko's art was better suited for Doctor Strange than I thought it was for Spider-Man. But Ditko's art on Spider-Man is part of what made it so huge. So I accept that I am wildly in the minority. I just preferred the way Romita Jr. or Romita Sr. Started drawing him. He was a lot bulkier. The fights were a lot more impactful. It was more of that iconic classic Spidey. He looked strong. Yeah. Whereas Ditko's Spidey was kind of scrawny and lanky most of the time. And So I prefer reading like Stan and JR Senior and Stern DeFalco stuff. Also,
Mike,
also Team Up. Brad, we've gone over this a lot. Like there's
Oh,
been
yeah.
great stories in there, like the Owl Octopus War. Remember that?
Oh yeah, that's finally getting in the Marvel Masterworks. By the way, the Owl Octopus War. It's finally.
Oh, nice.
I think it's up on Marvel Unlimited now. Finally,
You too
because
can
they
see,
Marvel Masterworked it.
You too can see Black Cat get shot in the boob.
Yep.
I love John
Boob
Romita
shot.
also, George. My first issues were Romita issues, and I love John Romita as well. I mean, those are some classic stories, and it was kind of cool to see that with Ditko towards the end, he was getting bigger and more muscular, and even that 6 foot poster behind my head way back there, he's pretty developed, and but at the beginning, yeah, he was just a wiry little guy.
One thing
Mike?
I did like that Ditko did was like how many like one page he would put in of just fighting, like the Sinister Six.
Annual.
Almost all that stuff is like 1 page fights.
It
Yep.
is.
You know,
Pinups, and he was kind of like a pioneer with that. Like, it wasn't just a splash page; he'd throw them in, through the story. So, yeah, good times.
yeah.
I'm going to Mike. What do you reread? We're going around
Okay.
the horn for this question. I like this.
I actually know which ones they are, especially when it's because when it was younger. One was of course the origin of Spider-Man, how it was originally drawn by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. The other one was the Mark of the Man-Wolf, and I do know that because that was
I remember
Yes.
that one.
From the Power Record, is that why?
Was one of the Power was one of
Me
the
too,
Power
bro.
Records. I didn't
And don't
realize
forget
at the time it
Draco.
was yeah,
Draco
I
the
didn't realize
Dragon.
I didn't realize at the time that that story was actually a bridge version of the.
I didn't either.
Yeah, and then it was found out years later, like, oh, okay, because there's that whole thing about because it's all tied into Gwen's, the ramifications of Gwen's death and everything like this and all that stuff in there. But yeah, that was the one I was, that's the one when I was a kid. That's the one I actually, gravitated a lot and everything like this. I was like, oh, Spider-Man's fighting werewolves. Oh, okay.
Another one I didn't mention. I love ASM 328 where he knocks the Gray Hulk into orbit because he has the powers of the. I mean, my
cosmic
God, I love that.
fire. Yeah,
Spider-Man. That whole
run, that whole bit was
I love
actually
that.
like, yeah, it was great because it's like, oh, here's what happened. Like, because the idea, like, oh, Spider-Man is like, this is what would happen if Spider-Man was actually like Superman level or something.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
It was. And Ryan, what do you reread the most?
The 3 I go back the most are Spectacular 200, Death of Harry Osborn, JMD Matthias, and Sal. I go to, of course, 370 with the Fire Lord battle with Spider-Man. I've talked to Ron Friends on my own podcast on that. But issue that hits me the biggest most is issue 311, Return of the Man Named Mysterio by Dave Michelani and Todd Fairley. I love the storyline. It was just before I got into comics. It was also the last Spider-Man comic my grandfather bought me before he passed away later on. So, and then we lost it. We never found it. One of the first comics I bought, like, was on the shelf at one of our local, was that issue, and I still have it downstairs.
Dude, Friends in the 80s on Spider-Man was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my! I still remember the way he would do like if somebody was fighting on the street, it couldn't be enough that like you would just see them and maybe a few bystanders. No, you saw all the way down the damn street.
Yeah, and Ron even talked about sometimes he always think like, well, what would I see if I was standing on the street?
Yeah.
And
It
and that's
showed.
how he said that, and it showed. I hugely talked about what he had done, what him and Tom did on the Thunderstrike series, what he would do with the storylines, what they did with the family drama, and he just captured that beautifully.
Did we say Ron Friends 3 times? Because he will appear in the chat if we aren't careful. Which
Come on,
I
Ron
love.
Friends.
I'm always good with
I've
Ron
got so
Friends,
many
though.
issues that he autographed for me over the years too, guys, and I'm parting with some of my issues. So if you're interested in some Ron Friends autographs,
Nice.
ASMs, let me
I've
know,
actually
guys.
got 2 on the way, including the Thunderstrike trade, because I've issued 1.
We have
by
a
Tom.
question.
You know what else I reread though?
What's that?
Which is probably not popular. Web of Spider-Man. I really like how dark it is.
Yeah, those are good.
Well, it was. Are you talking about the beginning? Because when Savick got in there, it got a little lighter when Conway and him were.
Yeah, the beginning.
Yeah, the beginning. The first issue was one of the best first issues of all time when he got the black suit up in the church, rang the bell.
Mm-hmm.
The cover by
question.
Charles Vest, right?
Charles Vest, classic cover. JR, we have a question aimed at you. It's from a panelist, current panelist of the Crawlspace. Kelly wants to know, where the hell did JR hear? No, she didn't say where the hell. Where did JR hear people cared about Ike? Because Twitter was practically dancing in the street for him getting pink slipped. Share.
Oh,
it wasn't on social media, Kelly. We know that much.
A lot of YouTubers.
Okay.
Some of them I listen to. Valiant Renegade is one. Some of the Midnight Edge folks. You know, it's from the YouTubers.
I did read this line that Michael Reed says that Ike wanted people to bring their own toilet paper from home.
Well, I mean, he's counted paper clips too, and you know, he's vetoed. He's vetoed. Parties and things like that. Because it just costs money. But
I know when I heard the news, I took it as a positive and was thinking this should have happened years ago.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like too little, too late. This dude was there long enough that he probably made a lot of people just around everywhere miserable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Now it's just sorry.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, but I think, like some of these YouTubers, these are the YouTubers who are always coming out with the anti-Disney, really, really anti-Disney. And they're
Disney's doing a lot of effed up.
I know, but they're not focused on the comic books. They're focused mostly on the MCU. So, they're looking at, because Ike thinks like closer to what we do as opposed to what Kevin Feige does. Therefore, he had to have been the good guy or something, and
no,
it's no. But I mean, I think these people are focused more on the MCU. They're not. Any of us who I think who are familiar with the comic books and Ike's ownership of Toy Biz and and Marvel. I mean, he's the one who one reason Marvel didn't have much of a catalog in print was because he didn't want to keep a lot of titles in print. He's been very bad for Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
He really has. And
no, he sold it to Disney. He got Disney the mouse to buy it. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it is. I think we have more good than we did.
Well, it was good until it was bad, and it's starting to get bad now.
We've had relationships like that, haven't we, George? It was good until it was bad.
It was good. I mean, for instance,
it
was good until it was bad.
It was good until it was bad. Yeah,
but I don't put that on Spencer.
I have a full run of ASM. I'm not stopping for anything and ruin that status. So Mr. Comics is a long hauler.
I get people that are like that. I do. I have friends.
I think I'm one, George. I really do.
You will buy literally any goddamn thing.
Well, I mean, the last book that I'm going to stop buying is Amazing Spider-Man. It really is. I mean, I'll drop X-Men. I'll drop FF.
Yeah, but at that time, you'll still be reading shit like Carnage.
No, I'm dropping Carnage before I drop Amazing, though.
Are you? Look me in the eye.
I'm not going to buy Carnage over Amazing Spider-Man. It's not going to happen.
No, I'm not saying you would drop Amazing Spider-Man. But I'm going to say you're one of these people that keeps Marvel in business, Brad.
I would agree.
Because they'll put out all these crap minis and everything, and you're like, I'm there. I'm
not there as much as I used to be.
You've gotten better.
I've gotten better. You've shown me the way.
This is the way.
How did you end the cycle of violence with these crap minis and limited series?
I got tired of writing the check. I'm like, my God, because because I do it on direct discount comic book service, and when I saw the cart, I'm like, well, hell. And then you know what really cut me down a lot was Marvel Unlimited. I said, can I wait 3 months to read this on my iPad? And by God, there's a lot of stuff I can wait.
So here's were you looking at like your checkout cart, and were you like looking at the books and you're like, this is going to sit in a pile that I don't read
Absolutely.
for 2 months?
Yeah. You know what's still in my pile and I regret was the Gwen-verse. The recent Gwen-verse. Sarah, you reviewed that on Patreon.
No, we don't talk about that.
Sarah, I still not read that 5-issue mini.
No, just don't read it.
Don't read it. I bought all 5 of them. I regret it.
Throw it out. Just
throw it out.
The first step in healing, Brad, is has to be made by you.
You can do it.
Josh says the ending of Spencer's run proved that Marvel's never going to listen to the fans ever.
I tend to agree with that, actually.
Heroing says I've dropped the book. I couldn't take loathing reading ASM. Michael Reed says I've reread JMS's The Conversation when Pete gets revealed by Aunt May again. That's a great one. That's a really good one. Josh Nelson, thank you for the super chat. Remember when everyone was optimistic at the start of Nick Spencer's run, except JR, who kept telling everyone not to get their hopes up? JR was right. We've got T-shirts.
That JR was partially right.
Well,
I enjoyed Spencer's run, and I think most of us on here did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did until the end.
JR never did. JR was always curmudgeonly.
He was. He was.
Well-
We'd all be giving stuff A's, and JR would be like, I give it a C. I don't know. I don't.
well,
like this."
it became evident early on that things were going to starting with Hunted, that whole Central Park thing. It was, and how long and drawn out that was, and that pretty well was the almost is symbolic of Spencer's entire run. I mean, like I've always said, he told 50 issues worth of stories in over 100 issues. That's
Yeah, but I mean, you could say that for a lot of runs, JR.
We've got
They got to pad the trade, dude.
yeah, it's 6 issues or nothing. You got to tell the story. Kelly goes back, of course, and reads Spider-Girl a lot, like daily, she says. I believe it, Kelly. Let's see. Michael Reed, yes, buying bad comics. I've been buying the Hulk, which is, I've said this on the show before. This is the worst Hulk run in 60 years of all his runs.
But Brad, it has the Hulk in it. You like the Hulk.
George, before I stop buying Amazing Spider-Man, I'll drop Hulk. Hulk will go first before Spider-Man. I'm sorry.
For those of you who don't know, I tease Brad about that
Yes.
because anytime like a character I like Stegron or Hobgoblin shows up, Brad is always like, George, you should read this. It has Stegron in it. You like Stegron. And I'm like, that doesn't mean the story's going to be good. And then I go and check the book in and it turns out to be shit.
Except
and then I'm like,
Superior
oh.
Foes. I got you on Superior Foes.
Yeah, no, you did. Superior Foes
was a great one.
Was awesome. Yeah.
Aaron owns a complete run ASM and only collects ASM. Everything else has gone by the wayside.
He has more than a complete
Tevye
run,
agrees-
guys. He was being kind of humble there. He has a variants and everything else. I mean, he has the most complete ASM collection I'm aware of.
Seriously? Wow. Does he have all the, remember when they did store exclusive variants where you got little Spider-Man logo? I mean, that detail.
He
now.
might even have those. Yeah.
I remember the Rhino variant. Remember from
Oh my gosh, where the
Sludge
horn
World,
was
where
coming through the
horn-
wall.
Yeah.
You have every one of those, don't you, Brad?
I don't. I have one. Yeah. Tevye agrees with Sarah. Gwenverse was so bad.
Yet I asked for more.
Yeah. Jonathan says that Marvel finally broke Brad. Yes, they did. I've cut back. Tevye also goes back and reads Spider-Girl every day.
What do you do with the money that you save from not buying bad comics?
I pay for inflated eggs. I
Yeah.
pay for inflated gas prices. I pay for inflated electric. It covers inflation.
Yeah.
I just buy classroom supplies.
There you go. Brad, is the Hulk worse than Amazing Spider-Man? Yes, it is. I have high hopes for the new writer, but the Hulk, JR, imagine Bruce Banner as Captain Kirk. The Hulk body is the Enterprise. And Scotty is down in the engine room making the Hulk mad to give him more power.
Wait, what is
That
the engine room of the body?
The engine room is, I don't know, all up in the Hulk's brain. And at one point, they went out and played basketball or something with planets. And it's the absolute, like, I don't understand the Hulk. Donny Cates is writing it, or did write it. And then Ryan Otley, who we liked on Amazing, is doing the art. And then Cates got off of it and had to do the writing and the art. And it's some of the worst. It is the worst Hulk written book in his 60-year history, in my opinion. Yeah. Ryan, you're with me? You're the only one on the panel probably read it.
Bad.
It was so bad.
Ryan Otley also took some things from the Guardians of the Globe mini from when he was doing Invincible that never got done. And all of a sudden I went, oh, dear God, make it stop.
Okay. We have reached the end of the show. We are going to do final thoughts. Ryan, with that bad taste in your mouth of the Hulk, give me something good to wash the palate.
It is Easter weekend. So there we go.
Favorite candy for Easter? What do you like, Ryan?
Believe it or
What's
not,
in your Easter basket?
Mint bunny and some Hershey eggs already coming, and then I got a nice little Snickers Milky Way coming right. So there we go.
Thumbs up or thumbs down on a Cadbury egg, sir? I'm up.
Thumbs up. I'll give it a thumbs up.
Yeah. I give you that. Mike, final thoughts.
Well, as Ryan said, happy Easter, and
Yep.
hopefully we will get some better Spider-Man comics. Hopefully, I mean, I know some people may like these, but
We won't get that for years.
At this point, I'm just fascinated. I'm fascinated. I'm just right now. I'm fascinated by the inevitable train wreck that's going to happen.
Sarah, final thoughts.
I want to know what Peter did now.
Do you really, or do we not care anymore?
No, I want to know now. Right now.
Give it to her now. We want to find out what the hell Peter did. Bruce, what did you do?
I've done a lot of things in 55 years of having this love affair with Spider-Man, and I try to stay positive. And I've gone through a lot of bad stuff, guys, over the 70s, the entertainment and everything else. So I've had to be patient a lot in 55 years of loving Spider-Man, and I try to stay positive. And
does it get harder?
With that,
does it keep getting harder?
It does get a little harder now, but hopefully things can turn the corner. And there's so many different aspects of Spider-Man, but hopefully the comics can turn the corner, because, like I said, I started buying my own at number 99, and I'm not going to stop the streak now with Amazing. I stopped everything else, but I'll keep Amazing going.
Bruce, you were there for 55 of 61 years of Spider-Man. Yep. What is the absolute low point for you?
As far as comics go?
No, as for Spider-Man. What's the low point for you?
I don't know. I guess some of the 70s entertainment we had to put up with, the TV show and different things. Spider-Man wasn't even talking on the electric company. He was just like,
I was talking about Amazing Spider-Man, the comic, not just in general.
Okay,
like the low point for the comics.
He even said, "Do you mean the comics?" And you were like, "No, I mean lowest point in Spider-Man."
So you got it's been a long show, Brad. It's been a long show, but it's hard to say, what the lowest point was. Some of the stuff in the 70s I wasn't crazy about, because I was spoiled by John Romita, George, and in the 70s when he was gone, it was a little bit hard to take at times. But it's so cyclical that the bad stuff seems to resurface once in a while. But Brad, like you said, 61 years. It's hard to keep good stories going, but I think they can come back and forth. So I've got optimism about the future.
Your glass is half full. Now let's go to 2 glass half empty, guys. George.
I don't know if my glass is half empty. I think my glass is pretty much shattered at this point. When you stop reading the book.
George doesn't even have a glass.
No.
What's your final thoughts, sir?
Yeah, number 1, happy Easter, everybody. Number two. This is off topic, but if you want to be positive about something, the D&D movie that is out now is a lot of fun.
Oh, now, it is.
Yeah. I've heard good things. I've heard very good things.
There's a lot of there's a lot of shows on YouTube I follow and stuff, and they're all like, "Oh no, the D&D movie is like woke garbage." Believe me, if anybody's gonna have their trigger flipped by a bunch of woke crap and the D&D stuff, it's me. And I love this movie. This movie is fantastic. I didn't really ever feel like, oh, this is agenda driven. It's not, D&D. It's a great movie. It's a feel good movie. It's like it feels a little like the first time you saw Guardians, and you come out and just enjoy.
Oh,
You're like, you know what? That might not have been the best thing ever, but by God, it was entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
That's the feeling you get out of this movie. And there's a lot of really good performances.
Captain Kirk's in it.
Chris Pine. Yeah, Chris Pine is in it. He's good in this, but he's not really like the standout kind of character. Mm-hmm. I felt like the standout characters were more like Michelle Rodriguez and the chick that plays the Druid girl. But no, it's a really good movie. You should go and see the D&D movie. Don't listen to anybody out there saying, "No, it's woke." It's not. I'm especially sensitive to that, and I didn't pick that up in this. So it's just an entertaining film, and I think McNulty saw it as well and likes it as well.
I did, yeah. And it is definitely got a kind of a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of vibe to the thing. And it's but yeah, it is kind of like, it's not the greatest, but it's a lot of fun to watch.
I know nothing about D&D. But I did in the 80s watch the cartoon. Is the cartoon kind of what this movie is?
No, not at all.
That's why I was thinking like.
But you don't need to know a lot about D&D to go in like this.
Okay, good. Well, that's good. I'll probably watch it.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Yeah.
There's some of you may know this, some of you may not. I actually have run a D&D game for years. McNulty is in it. Mm-hmm. And when I saw the film, one of the characters does something so astonishing and out of nowhere and semi-stupid, semi-crazy. And I
Mhm.
was watching it and I said, that is something that Mike's character would have done.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
I was like, oh my God, this makes me immediately think of McNulty.
Mhm.
But no, the D&D movie's a lot of fun, so go see it if you get a chance.
Nice. And JR, your final thoughts, sir.
I'm as depressed now as I was when we started.
Oh.
Come
Oh,
on,
JR's ready for the next colonoscopy.
you need tons.
JR,
of
did you
JR.
see how many fans came out for you? They love you and your curmudgeon ways. Couple things. We've got a question, and I will pop it up right here. We have a question from my friend B. Rich in Kansas City. He wants to know if I'm going to this summer. Spider-Man, the exhibit is coming to Kansas City in Missouri. I am going this summer. Yes, indeed, I am. It's ought to be a fun
Oh, cool.
thing for the
Looks
family.
awesome. I like
So,
that.
Are you gonna
Oh,
Are you
very
gonna
nice.
live stream it on the YouTube channel?
Why not? Why not?
That's
That'd be
cool.
fun.
I'd love to
If,
see it
if
live
I was
more.
actually thinking of just shooting video and doing a little commentary of it, if they'll let me.
Hmm.
But this looks fun.
Do you know if they're going to any other
My mom and
cities,
grandma are
Brad,
going to
or-
come up. We're going to. It's here in Kansas City for at least until October. It opens in late May. But this was out in San Diego for the
Yeah, right,
Comic-Con.
right. Do you know if it's going anywhere else other
and
than-
I haven't seen anything past Kansas City. But when you go through this, here's some pictures. You've got
Yeah, it's
original art here. It looks very, very cool. So I am
Awesome.
He's
and
using his industry
Spider
did
Ham
something similar a
life-size.
few years ago.
I'll try to find that for you, Bruce, to
Okay,
get you an
thank you.
actual answer. You're welcome. I'm looking it up now.
So I'm looking forward to that. So yes, be rich. I'm going, man. That'll be a fun summer trip. Kelly agrees with George and Mike that she loved the D&D movie also. Jonathan says, I hear the D&D movie is good, even from the usual detractors. Kelly says, sorry she couldn't be on. She's traveling. So no problem, Kelly. We will hopefully get you next week. We're going to do Patreon. And here we go. Here, we'll do an announcement here. We're going to do Patreon. Next week is what we've been talking about. And also, we hit a Patreon reward. We hit a milestone. And the reward for the Patreon members is we're going to do a recording commentary of Spider-Man 3, the Tobey Maguire one. So we're going to watch the movie together. You'll get a DVD commentary exclusive to the Patreon members. So if you want to hear that, you want to hear us talk about Spider-Man 3. What's the finger guns that he does? Da, da, da.
Hey, Bruce, I'm not seeing like a schedule on this thing, but they have a Facebook page. Hang on, let me see if
I'll track them down.
all right.
And Jonathan says we love JR. Chris,
Oh,
I agree
thank
with
you.
you. You people are nuts. I agree.
Nuts for years.
Josh says someone needs to give JR a hug. George, you're closest. Here, let's get him from the left and the right.
No, I don't like to be touched. No.
Oh yeah, everybody
Air
hug
hug.
JR.
Air hug. Air hug. Air hug. Air hug.
Oh, there you go. I think we just assaulted the man. And Kelly says the Mario movie is also very cute. So
At no point did I hear JR give consent.
wow. Oh,
I just heard
also-
Brad. I just heard Brad not caring.
And Vinkman, we will end it with his comment. Bruce is glass half full, JR is glass half empty, and George is just the glass is full of piss.
Wow.
I mean, the glass is what the glass is.
The glass is. Thank you, my friends, on the panel. Thank you, my friends watching. This has been fun. We're probably going to do this again next week. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll find out when we're going to be live. And that is a wrap.